Hello, friends, and welcome. My name's Popeye. Today we're playing some Higurashi Chapter 6, Tsumihoroboshi. Um, Before we get into things, just a couple things. Last time we finished off Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky the Third, which was about a 4 hours gameplay. 2 hours, I guess, kind of set up final dungeon, 1 hour final boss, 1 hour ending, saying goodbye to literally every character in existence. If you want to check that out, if you missed that, or if you missed part of that, or you want to check out that series, please check out the VODs or check out my YouTube. Today, however, we're going to be playing something very different. Higurashi is a visual novel. The author themselves describes it as a sound novel. They've also had like audiobook recordings of it. And the most important thing for me to tell you about this game is it has a lot of very mature themes. If any of the following triggers are not for you, please find some place that you'd rather spend your evening. These games include themes such as death, murder, torture, rape, kidnapping, child abuse, language, blood, gore. I think that about covers it. Any of those things against a minor. All the main characters here are under the age of 18. I think the oldest character is 16, I want to say. And some going as young as like 10 or 11. So if any of that is not for you, please by all means find someplace you'd rather be tonight. That being said, if you're still here, welcome back. This is the sixth game. Tsumihoroboshi translates to the Atonement chapter. And Higurashi, the main game is divided into eight different chapters. The first four are called the question arcs. The last four are called the answer arcs. And then there's some spin-off ones. We've done one of those on stream, and we might do some others later, but we're trying to finish the main core for now. So this is the answer arc to chapter 1, Onikakushi. I won't go into spoilers about that one, but if you want to see it, that's one of the few ones that was before I started recording videos, so unfortunately I don't have that. But you can watch someone else do it. You can watch the anime. Speaking of, this is your reminder that the reboot, quote-unquote, of Higurashi that came out last year is not in fact a reboot. It is a continuation. If you want to get into the series, please watch it from the original. Watch seasons 1, 2 of the original. 3 and 4 are optional. 3 is okay. 4 is just fan service garbage. You don't need that in your life unless you really want it. And then the 2 seasons that came out last year, Go and Sotsu, are a continuation on that, not a reboot. Do not start there with it. Otherwise, you'll spoil some stuff. You'll miss a bunch of stuff. Don't do that to yourself. Now, in Onikakushi, we follow Keiichi as he first comes to the village, and it's more just learning about the village, learning about the people. This game is pretty different compared to that one. Like I said, I'm trying not to spoil that first one if people want to go back and experience that. But this one's going to split time between Keiichi and Rena. It's going to cover a lot about both of their backstories before they came to the village. Is Keiichi having just arrived, and Rena has only been here for just over a year. So it's going to cover their backstories before they entered the village. In terms of the anime, if you're looking at the original season 1 of the anime, this arc concludes season 1 and I think is the first episode of season 2. It kind of ends in like a little cliffhanger. So if you are watching it, this would be the end of that season, the first episode of the second season. And yeah, I think that about covers everything I want to go over. There's one thing I will get to after, but let's dive into it. We are using the 07th expansion mods, which redoes graphics, character sprites, and sound. As we go take a look at the characters, I'll show you what the different models look like. And in fact, last time we found that you can actually glitch the models if they are in the middle of an animation and you toggle between different art styles, you can actually glitch them in a previous art style and have, even if there's like multiple characters on screen, you can have one in one art style, one another. If you want to check that out, I've got a whole collection of clips on Twitch about graphical issues that we found. Yeah, without further ado, let's dive in. The Atonement chapter. How is your reasoning towards the truth coming along? Next tragedy is ready for you. Enjoy. This is a humorous story with a tragic struggle at the end. The difficulty is 0. You can just enjoy the clowns milling about. I don't know why they have kids' laughter. It's terrifying. And yes, as of the, I think it's 5th game, they added choices in. This wasn't originally in the Steam version. This was added in the console version, which I believe was PlayStation 3, which allows you to make choices. And you have these options. You can skip it, only show the original PC version, which I think is just the good ending. You can see all the choices, or you can see the choices and what the correct answer is. We'll be doing all the endings. Usually it's just like 1, maybe 2 choices near the very end of the game. That corresponds to like an additional 20, 30 minutes of content, something like that. So we're going to prompt for the additional choices, and when we get to those, we're going to save scum, do one ending, load save, do the other ending. I try and get the bad ending first. We did that last time. We'll see if we can do it again this time, but we're going to do additional choices. Actually, no, sorry. The choices started in the 4th arc. Oh, but first. The first time, I would try harder to avoid the inevitable tragedy. The second time, I would be disgusted with the inevitable tragedy. Oh, jeez. Luckily, I have that copy down here because that went super quickly. But I'll wait for a lull in this. Okay, perfect. The last line of that was, the 3rd time disgust is overwhelmed into painfulness. By the 7th time, this all becomes a farce comedy. Now, they like starting the games with these poems. However, this game actually has an interesting bit of trivia, which is what's listed in that poem and what's listed in the production notes for this game are actually 2 different poems. I don't know why. I have not found a reason why they went this route and swapped out the poem. But here was the original poem from the production game logs. And this is in reference to Rena, since she is one of the 2 protagonists of this game. She wasn't discouraged, nor did she cry at her fate. She was beautiful. She didn't fawn anyone, and fought them all by herself. She was noble. She shined brightly like a divine figure. I needed someone like her. And I'm actually quite sad that they swapped this out, 'cause me personally knowing what's going to happen in this story, I feel like that's such a better way to wrap it up, because the poems are supposed to be reflective of what's going to take place. So again, I don't know why they changed that. They did. I personally don't think they should have. These games, just another warning, because these kinds of things often have like an anime kind of opening that takes place pretty early into it, which may include spoilers from not only the core series but the extra arcs. So if that's something that you don't want to see when it gets to like a movie cutscene, just go away for like 3-4 minutes and come back and it should be done. The chorus of the Higurashi had replaced that of the cicadas. Their cries came from a distance, echoed loudly, and then faded away. They sounded so weak and fragile. Rena's voice was just like the cries of the Higurashi. She'd say something, but the words would quickly fade away. She sounded so fragile, that made me worry that she might vanish into thin air along with her words. But nobody is pressuring her to continue. Neon dusted off the hood of an abandoned car and sat down on it as if to show how relaxed she was. She actually did look very relaxed, as if she came here to enjoy the cool breeze of the evening or something. Sadako followed me on this example and sat down as well. She didn't look nearly as relaxed, however. I thought about following suit, but it felt rude to look away from Rena, even for the short time it would take to look for a place to sit down, so I decided to remain standing. Rika-chan didn't sit down either, but she wasn't looking at Rena. Everybody else was looking at Rena, but Rika-chan was looking at the red sky. So presumably we're Keiichi at this point, because who else could we be? I guess Shion. Rika-chan's expression was hard to describe. She looked pale and blank at the same time, as if all her emotions were gone. Rena wore the same kind of expression. She kept trying to say something, but it seemed like the words were stuck in her throat. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention. This, I would say, is even though it's divided into questions and answer arcs, this is supposed to be like the last time for you to formulate an idea of what's going on. All these different visual novels are supposed to be different angles of the same story that give you different information. You're supposed to piece together what's really happening behind the scenes. Because each time, you're told some things, you're not told other things. Maybe someone's lying to you. Maybe they're just not telling you something. And you're supposed to try to take all this information, put it together, and come up with your own idea. And at the end of each of the games, they kind of have this reflection on what happened in the game. They think what happened was the result of people, a deity, a god, supernatural forces, an accident, what happened, why, who, if anyone, is responsible. So this game is the last time to take your guess at it before they start giving you this information. They start giving you the answer. Mion did the same. So did I. Sadako looked that way too. With that, there was silence. It's like we were in a concert hall filled with the chorus of the Higurashi, a concert hall with the highest roof in the world. A refreshingly cool breeze tickled our sweaty bodies. I could almost make myself believe we came here to enjoy the breeze and the sunset. I could only wish that was what we came here for. The shadows of the birds flying across the sky soured the feeling of our quiet concert. They reminded us that time hadn't stopped. Nobody wanted to pressure Rena. We didn't want time to pressure her either. We wanted to keep the cool red sky as long as we could so Rena could calm down and talk. Right then, I heard a sound, and it brought us all back to reality. The hood Mion was sitting on made a noise when she moved across her legs. I don't know whether Mion made the noise on purpose or not, but it reminded us that time had been passing by. The noise took our attention away from the sky and back to the ground. Such a tasteless noise seemed to have urged Rena to speak. Rena heaved a small sigh, nodded as if she understood something, and looked at us like she always did. Okay, so here's the first actual character model. So as I was saying before, there's different art styles. Here was the original, hand-drawn. This is actually better than some of them, even though, she looks like she's wearing a boxing glove on the one hand. Some of them just have ridiculous arm proportions. When they moved it to the PlayStation console, you had this art style. This art style, I guess the only thing that it really has going for it, and actually let's click through it to see it. Oh, it has lip syncing. I'll play one scene to see it. And then the one we were on at the start is what's representative of the anime, and it's the latest art style. And that's the one we'll be going with, but when we see a new character, I do like to just toggle through the art styles. She was probably saying it to everybody, but since I'm standing in the middle, with her looking at me, I nodded to her to represent our agreement. There you go. So it has lip syncing with the voice acting. And that's the one that has an animation, and if you change while it's doing that, you can actually trap them in that art style. Her voice wasn't hoarse anymore. She sounded just like she always did. sounded like a question, but nobody answered.
だからね、私みーちゃんの部活って好きなの。ほら、優勝のためには何でもしようって考え方、そういうのって素敵だと思う。だって世の中が綺麗事で縛られてて、やっていい努力がわずかだけに決められていたら、幸せじゃない人たちはますます幸せを勝ち取れなくなっちゃうじゃない。不幸ってね、連鎖するものだと思うの。一度続き始めるとなかなか抜け出せない。そこから抜け出すには運とか人の助けとか、そういう他力本願なものだけじゃ到底足りない。自分でももっともっと努力しないといけないと思うの。それも本当の本当に精一杯。そこまでしてやっとつかめるのが幸せってものじゃないかなって。
Rena stopped talking, looked up, and heaved a sigh and opened her mouth again.
でもだからってみんなにもそれを受け入れてもらおうなんて甘えるつもりもないかな。だって本当に汚らしいもの。みんなだってついさっき呆然としたでしょ。それはつまりそういうことだよね。
Never seen her smile so self-derisively like this. That smile looked unbelievably painful. I could really feel how huge the distance between us was. Nothing physical there, but I felt as if she was talking to us through iron bars or a chain-link fence. That's how great the distance between us was.
でもそれでもいいよ。仕方ないもんね。そういう風にできてる世の中だもん。多分私が逆の立場でいられたなら、同じように唖然として無責任で無慈悲な同情を浮かべていたに違いないもの。
She probably said that to hit back at us. We're just putting on a mask of sympathy, enjoying the spectacle of a clown on a stage. That's why she said that. She probably expected us to say something in return, but none of us knew what to say. Rena looked disappointed for a moment, then turned and clambered on top of an abandoned car. Then she spread out her arms, gave a little twirl, letting her skirt billow up before she grabbed both ends and gave us a graceful curtsy.
じゃあ始めるよ。竜宮レナの一世一代の頑張り物語を。
There was no curtain or spotlight. She was atop an abandoned car amid the trash piles, a stage specifically made for her. We tried not to miss a word of what she was about to say. We believed that was the least we could do to not hurt her feelings. Oh, here's the animated video. If you don't want to watch this, tune out for like 3-4 minutes. May have some spoilers. This game, other games in the series, and spin-off games. Also, it's for sure getting DMCA'd, so enjoy it now.
感染症のように熱を
And we're back. Let's say it's a winter month, like December right now. What would you do if all of a sudden you had a week of hot and humid days with crying cicadas? Do you still wear your coat and scarf? Absolutely not, right? Even though it's still June, it's already summer to us since we've been having hot days for so long. It's totally okay to do this kind of club activity in June. My school, everybody usually does what they want in PE class. Today would be an exception. All my classmates were gathered in the schoolyard. Mion looked over everybody gathered there, then spoke up loudly. Yeah, so I don't know if we've done Mion in her gym clothes. Just look at that arm, it just looks like a giant penis. It's awful. They all raise the water guns in their hands. It's okay to use water guns in June because it's been so hot and humid. All my classmates are joining in, so it's going to be a big water gun battle. I'm so excited.
さすがクラス全員で部活だとなんだか盛り上がりますわね。そうだね。全員で表ではしゃぐのってなんだか楽しそうかな。みんなは楽しいですが、僕たちは例によって負けられないのです。
You can get a 3 for 1. Absolutely awful.
そういうこったな。およそ勝負と名の付く以上、俺たち部活メンバーは常にリスクを背負ってるからな。
まあそういうこと。部活メンバー諸君は部活に負けたりしちゃうと大変なペナルティーが待ってるからね。せいぜいしっかり戦うこと。
よしよし、盛り上がってきたぜ。生徒諸君、武器点検は十分か？弾倉は満タンか？
任せてくださいよ、前原さん。銃撃戦は僕たちの最も得意とするところですからね。
富田たちはよく水鉄砲で遊んでますから、かなり強敵かもなのですよ。
今日の僕たちは少し違います。
Midakun and Okumura-kun smiled confidently, holding their guns in a practiced manner. Their skills must give them confidence, they even look different.
ミオンは言うに及ばず、サトコもリカちゃんもかなり強敵になりそうだぜ。レナはどうだ？ちょこまか動いて、いの一番にやられないように頑張れよ。そういえば、最近のレナは罰ゲーム常連だな。
最近不得意なゲームが多かったから。でもケイチ君も最近私と同じで罰ゲームが多いと思うかな。
罰ゲームの格好のまま帰宅して、さあ脱ごうとしたところでおふくろに見つかった俺の哀愁などわかるものか。無我。
私だって先週のはひどいよ。普通の女の子ならお嫁に行けなくなっちゃうよ。
Sadako laughed at us loudly, while we were shuddering at the memory of cruel punishments we suffered in the past.
覇気や運気にも偏りというのがございましてよ。その意味から言えば、ここしばらくのレナさんやケイチさんはいわゆる負け組というやつでございますわね。
確かに負け癖ってやつはあるね。闘志ってやつは負けが続くとくじけてくる。絶対勝てるという信念が砕けると、全く同じことをやっても裏目に出るもんだからね。
てめえら、たまったま俺とレナがちょいと罰ゲームを哀れに思って引き受けてやってたのを感謝もせずにその言い草か。
あら、そうでしたの？それは感謝の気持ちが足りず申し訳ないことでございましたよ。
うわー！さとこてめえ！そのセリフは俺の怒りに火をつけたぜ。後悔させてやる。
その意気だよケイちゃん。まあせいぜいあがいておじさんを楽しませてちょうだいよね。レンナも頑張って。あうあう言ってる間にクラスで一番最初に脱落したらさすがに恥ずかしいからね。でもその可能性も高いかな。
一番最初に脱落するのがレナさんだと思いましたよ。どんな目に遭うか今からお覚悟なさいませな。ひどいよ、みーちゃんもさとこちゃんも。レナもケイイチもファイトおーですよ。
Leon and Setiko laughed as loud as they could and moved on to tease their next target. Left alone, all I could do was stomp on the floor in anger.
さあ絶対負けねえ。あそこまで言われたら負けられねえぜ。
そうだね。あそこまで言われると悔しいよね。
っていうか悔しいどころじゃねえぞ。プライドの問題だぞ。くさ
みーちゃんの言うように負け癖ってやっぱりあるかもしれないよね。だから今日は絶対に勝ってみんなを見返してやろう。
Rena's eyes look different. She's usually a funny and weird person, but now she has the determination to do what she needs to. When Rena looks like this, she can be a tough opponent.
今日は私も部活の規則にのっとり手加減なしでいく。
おお、なんだかかっこいいこと言うじゃねえの。まるで普段の自分はわざと手を抜いているって言わんばかりだぜ。
Rena smiled. Maybe you could have called it a wicked grin. She was serious. She was serious about what she said. I could tell that from her expression alone. Among the club members, Rena is easily the most sensible one. The rule of our club is that we can do anything in order to win. She's the only one who has moral qualms in doing it. That's why we rarely have a hard time against her, except for when she snaps. It's rare to hear her say that she won't go easy.
ちっくしょう、そんな笑い方されたら俺も超本気で行くしかねえじゃねえかよ。
いつも本気で戦うのが部活だけど、それでもやっぱりそれ以上に本気じゃないといけない時ってあるよね。今日は多分それだね。
だな。
We pounded our fists together. Usually when we really don't want to lose the game, one asks the other to work together, but Rena didn't ask this time, which meant that she was going to try to defeat everybody by herself. No, not try. She was going to do it by herself. Rena looked really cool at that moment, but I was scared. She was seriously going to do it. I'd have to be serious and do it too. My fighting spirit had been dented after many losses, but had begun to burn hot once more.
ケイチ君もなかなかいい顔してるね。怖いな。全員と一人で戦っても勝てるつもりでいる顔だね。
レナだってそのつもりだろう。
じゃあぶつかるのは最後だね。
互いにクラス全員を全滅させたら最後にはそうなるな。
最後の戦いの時、そこにいるのがケイチ君なのを期待してるね。
おう。
We pounded our fists together again.
光線規定はちゃんと覚えてるね。被弾時の申請だけは正直にね。被弾した人は撃っちゃダメだよ。仮に当てても無効ね。
ミオン、被弾の定義を再確認したいぜ。
水鉄砲で撃たれたら被弾。ひねくれたケイちゃんのためにさらに補足するなら、水鉄砲というこの容器から出た水が最初に触れたものが標的であった時被弾とするわけ。つまり水鉄砲を経由した水をバケツに溜めてぶっかけても無効ってわけ。
直接攻撃以外は有効じゃないってことだね。さとこちゃんの脅威が少し薄らいだかな。トラップにもいろいろございましたよ。レナさんなんか一番最初に餌食にして差し上げましたよ。それは無理。私を仕留めようとしたら さとこちゃんじゃまだまだ役不足だね。なんですって？
ほほレナが売り言葉とはね。こりゃ面白くなりそうだよ。ねえケイちゃん。
大して面白くねえと思うぞ。俺かレナかどっちにやられたいかを選ばされるだけなんだからな。
ケイチもやる気満々なのです。
Mion seemed to sense the fighting spirit in me and Rena. I could tell that she's as serious as we are, just from the way she looks.
よっし
I love how no one cares about Rika, so she's probably gonna win.
ゃいい面構えだよ。気に入った。じゃあ始めるよ。全員3回くじで決められた場所に移動してね。
Everybody had to draw lots to pick a place to start the game from. Wouldn't be fun if everyone was close together at the beginning of the game. By the way, my starting position was behind the school building. I drew the starting position. I thought about hiding until there were only a few people left, like I did in our last game of tag. But a defensive tactic like that wasn't interesting to me anymore. I hadn't been this excited in a long time. My legs were shaking with excitement. It was my first time experiencing that kind of feeling. I could hear Mion's countdown from some distance away.
3、2、1。
A single shot of a toy pistol echoed. At that sound, I was already running around the building. There had to be some underclassmen nearby. I'd usually assume that somebody else would take care of them, but this time was different. They stood frozen in fear as I ran towards them, screaming at the top of my voice. Why do we have real gunshot sound effects? That's not good. I took a moment to quickly decide whether to fight or to run away. In that moment, I shot one after another.
俺の隣が当たった時点で運がなかったと思ってくれ。
I felt bad for them because they lost the game so quickly, so I rubbed their heads to cheer them up. Then I took their water guns. Yes, that was the key factor in this game. You can't put very much water in a water gun. 10 people around you in a gun battle, the water would be gone in a minute. I abandoned the gun I used to shoot them, held one of their guns in each hand, and scoped out the schoolyard. Just like I expected, there was an intense battle happening there. The short time it took me to take care of the area behind the school building, it seemed like most of my classmates were already shot. I wasn't surprised, though. I kind of knew it'd happen. You'd have a high skill to fight in the open schoolyard, especially when most of the club members were there. Must have been like a battle of elephants and ants.
なんだミオンのあれは。
Yon was holding a different water gun from the one she had when the game started. She was now holding one that looked like a huge machine gun. Its range capability, its pump action shooting, and the amount of water it can hold were way beyond comparison. There were no restrictions on what kind of water guns we could use today. As long as it's a water gun, we were allowed to use any kind. Most of us have a normal pistol-style water gun from the local toy store or something similar. I would have bought a bigger one like Mion's if they'd had one. But they weren't in stock and I'd have to order it in. In other words, Mion ordered hers a long time ago just for today. She's always well prepared when it comes to winning. She must have thought that we wouldn't allow her to use the big water gun if she'd showed it off before the game started, so she must have hidden it somewhere. Looks like most of our classmates were shot right after the game started. Only a few were still alive, trying to survive as long as they could by using the heavy construction equipment as a shield. Mion mercilessly shot them from various angles to make them come out from behind the shield.
そらそんなとこに隠れてないで出てきな。
Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun were trying their best to resist her attack from behind their shield. It looked like they had no chance against her, but actually, that wasn't true. After all, the two of them were only still alive because of all their experience in water gun battles. They survived the first few minutes of her assault, even though 99% of their classmates didn't. They were still surviving at that very moment. Mion, however, is also a battle-hardened soldier. She used the advantage of her big water tank and gradually, but certainly, drove them into a corner. was only a matter of time until she broke them down.
ダメだ、あのマシンガンはつらいよ。委員長の水が少なくなるまでなんとかしのごう。今は手も足も出ないよ。
They tried to hold out against her, but all they could do for now is to keep running behind cover as Mion strayed closer and closer to them. They wanted to use their 2 against 1 advantage, but it seemed like they wouldn't even get that chance. If they tried attacking recklessly, one of them might get shot and the other would have no chance of winning. So they grew more cautious, placing their bets on their final chance. That caused their offense to wane. Of course, Mion saw through their plan. She was purposely provoking them so that they'd lose their patience and start attacking her recklessly. Mion circled around the construction equipment and is now standing with her back towards me. If I went up against her machine gun fair and square, I wouldn't stand a chance, so attacking her from behind would be the only way for me to defeat her. Even though she was in a defenseless position, there was some distance between us. I was still too far away. But it would still be better to attack her now than take her head on. Don't hesitate, Keiichi. Don't have this chance again. I stepped out from my hiding place and ran as fast as I could towards her with 2 water guns in my hands. Instead of approaching slowly and silently, I screamed at the top of my lungs. Mion seemed a little shocked by my surprise attack, but she immediately pulled herself together. She knew the advantages of her weapon. But she didn't shoot me just yet. She held back, luring me closer. Mion was well aware of how much water she had left. She had the same kind of water gun as me, should have had the same range capability. It would have been down to our technique to decide the winner. If she was fighting against one of our underclassmen, she could have defeated them easily. Mion immediately calculated her chance of winning against me and figured out that her only chance was to use the advantage of her water gun. She saw the eye of the tiger in me and recalculated her chances of winning in a split second. Really, I can admire how fast she does those things. I ran at top speed to shorten the distance between us. Our strength should have been equal. I had 2 water guns with full tanks, and she had a machine gun with a half-empty tank. We both waited for that perfect moment.
今日のケイちゃんの気迫には敬意を表するよ。今日のあんたには正面からぶつかり合って互角以上の勝率を弾き出せる自信がない。
残念だぜミオン。勝率の弾き方も鈍ったな。今日の俺に正面からぶつかり合ったら互角どころじゃない。てめえの負けだ。
The moment we stepped within range, Mion and I pulled our triggers at the same time. Mion set her sights squarely on me because I was trying to shoot and run at the same time. Her shot would obviously be more accurate than mine. My shot of water flew towards nowhere. Mion didn't even need to duck. Mion shot made a beautiful arc straight towards my chest. I could see the line of water coming straight at me, but I was too unstable to dodge. Mion had no doubt that she got me.
気合だけではどうにもならない現実がこれだったね。やっぱりケイちゃんは最初に脱落だ。
やっぱり残念だぜミオン。今日のミオンのコンピュータは一手読みが足りないぜ。
ほざくな。その体勢からかわす術はない。水の弾丸で撃ち抜かれろ。そしてどうした
This is a lot of dialogue for like shooting a water gun 20 feet. You're really disappointing me today, Mion. Could have figured out if you spent just one more second to think. Could have figured out the reason why I didn't creep up on you, but screamed as loud as I could instead. Mion noticed my surprise attack and turned around to face me. In other words, she turned her back on the opponent she was fighting earlier. Those opponents heard my scream and saw that she had turned her back on them. Mion noticed her back was wet and cold. Finally understood that the underclassmen she was attacking just earlier had shown their fangs and attacked her from behind. I blocked her water shot with my arm, right before it hit my chest. The line of water was broken into droplets and splattered away.
そうだったか。 被弾者の攻撃は被弾しても無効だ。
そいつに気づくのだいぶ遅かったぜ。伏せろミオン。
and squatted down and covered her head. Now it was me versus Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun. The reflexes weren't so bad. They knew well that I'd be their next target after Mion was gone. They didn't feel sorry at all for attacking me right after I just saved them from their predicament. I can respect the cruelty and how quickly they shifted gears. They may one day be able to join our club. They keep refining their sense and skill.
次は前原さんだ。このまま撃ち殺すんだ。こっちは2人だもんね。負けるわけがない。
They were, however, one step behind me. It was already too late. For them, Mion was their first target, and I was next. But I was different. My first target was them from the start. I didn't even see Mion as my target to begin with, because I knew they'd take care of her. I was pointing my guns at them long before they'd moved their sights from Mion to me. It seemed like they noticed at the last moment that both of my guns had been pointing at them from the beginning, which meant it was already too late for them. I jumped over Mion, rolled onto the ground, and landed on my feet. I looked as elegant as an athlete who just finished a perfect performance. I had a gun in each of my hands. With those guns, I shot them each in the middle of their chests.
早すぎる。僕たちが2人がかりで負けるなんて。
Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun fell to their knees in disappointment.
ケイちゃんがこれだけのことをやってのけるなんて、私も鈍ったってことかな。
Mion wiped the dirt off her knees, looking
別に
frustrated.
ミオンは鈍っちゃいなかったろ。
じゃあなんでおじさんが負けたわけよ。
そんなの決まってるじゃねえか。
I twirled my guns on the tops of my fingers.
たまには勝たねえと格好がつかねえからだよ。
There were only a few people left alive, Rena, Sadako, and myself. Rena and Sadako were fighting fiercely. Were they evenly matched? No, Sadako was pushing her hard. Moving fast, she was driving Rena into a corner. Rena was usually gentle and slow, but today she was different. She was very serious today, and yet Sadako was still overwhelming her. She's a tough customer even without her tricky traps.
最初の威勢はどこへ行ってしまいましたのかしら。いい動きをするね。私も負けられないよ。
Sadako kept moving around, piling on pressure in order to pin Rena down. She kept shooting, so her tank must almost have been empty, but her shots were still sharp and fast. I noticed a bucket near her feet, which was full of many water guns. I understood, seeing that she'd been taking guns from others who were already out of the game. In this battle, reloading bullets, or water, was more crucial than the actual shooting. The hole that you put water into these guns is rather small. Put water through it from the faucet takes time and requires a certain amount of skill. A battle like this would almost be suicidal. I understood that well, so I'd been taking guns from the people I'd defeated. Oh, look too fast. What's the... There we go. But I could only hold one in each hand. Sadako used a bucket to overcome the limit. Rena looked like she only had one gun. I'd assumed she had two earlier. She must have used a lot of water during her long battle with Sadako. Looked like she was trying to save her water for the right moment, but with Sadako's fierce attacks, it was obvious that it was only a matter of time before Rena was driven into a corner. However, Rena is also quite skilled. She only pretended to be driven into a corner, but she was actually luring Sadako to a place where she'd have the advantage. There was a narrow, twisting path near the gymnasium warehouse behind the school building. Rena's water levels running low, she'd want to turn things around with a single close-range shot. That narrow path was the perfect place for her to do that.
あれあれ、どうしたのかな。攻撃の手が鈍ってきたね。疲れてきた？お気遣いは嬉しいですけど、まだまだでしてよ。 するよりそちらのお水は大丈夫ですの？さっきから全然打ち返してきませんわよ。ひょっとしてもった紛れじゃございませんの？そうだと思うならお顔を出してみたらどう？遠慮いたしましてよ。最後の一発を温存しているのは分かっていますわ。一発あれば十分だよ。体操服を濡らした気の毒だからね。額を打ってあげるね。まさかレナさんとこんなにもスリリングなやりとりができるなんて思いませんでしたわ。でも最後の一発分の水量では大して勢いもないでしょうから、射程もほとんどないんじゃありません
Sadako was right about that. Rena had just enough water to make one last shot. The amount of water left in the tank dwindles, the range of shots you can make shortens. That makes the last shot the shortest and weakest of them all. Regardless of her absolutely disadvantageous situation, Rena didn't look frustrated. Lost the sneeze. That's unfortunate. I could tell she had no intention to lose. Oh. It's almost like she didn't even see Sadako as a threat.
私もさすがに慎重にならざるを得ませんわ。
Sadako seemed to understand how dangerous Ren's last shot was going to be better than I did, since she was the one actually fighting against her.
私、将棋はあまりやらないんですけれど、こういうのを詰将棋って言うんでございましょうね。
Sadako took out another gun with a full tank and shortened the distance between them slowly and carefully. A gun with a full tank doesn't only have a longer range, it also has enough power to make shots more accurate. If they shot at each other in a frontal attack, Sadako would have a 99% chance to win. Even so, Sadako was still afraid of Rena's last shot. Having a water gun battle.
Right?
Yeah, that's what you do for gym class, apparently.
You mean you never did that for gym class?
No.
We have.
Okay. We never did. Your gym class sounds more exciting than mine. Sadako shortened the distance even further, smiling as if unafraid, but I could tell she was actually full of fear. Sadako compared the situation to chess earlier, but it wasn't exactly the same. Chess, you can use some pieces to drive the opponent's king into a corner. In this case, there was only Rena and Sadako. You can lose some of your pieces in order to achieve a win, but Sadako doesn't have any pieces other than herself. King can't drive the other king into a corner. Alone, that's called a stalemate. That's why at first glance, it looks like Sadako has the absolute advantage. They're actually on equal footing.
さあ参りますわよ。このままチャイムを待つなんて私たちらしくありませんわ。そうだね。勝負しよう。
Strange, I thought Rena wouldn't have to move just on a dare from Sadako. What kind of plan did she have? Rena had been hiding behind cover for a while, but she came out without hesitation. I noticed something right away. Rena had a different gun. Sadako seemed to notice it as well.
ここには弾切れになったら逃げ込もうと考えててね。あらかじめ一丁拾って隠してあったの。
Damn, she's good. Using a trap at the last moment for a come-behind victory, as though she was taking Sadako's best skill from her and firing it right back. Sadako no longer had any advantages now that both of them were pointing their guns at each other with full tanks. But she still looked confident. What was going on? Did she have some kind of plan to...
その一丁は私にとっても大切な一丁でしたのよ。どうしてかな。だってその一丁がなかったらレナさんはさっきの銃のまま一撃逆転を狙い続けてこうして私の前に姿を現したりしませんもの。
That moment, lightning ran through my brain and I instantly understood the situation. Of course, Rena was in a disadvantageous situation earlier. It was actually the same for Sadako since she didn't have a chance to make her shot while Rena was in hiding. Rena had remained cautious in order to hit her with her last shot. That made it difficult for Sadako to attack her. However, what if... Rena didn't need to take the last shot for a come-behind victory. No, I said it wrong. What if Rena got a new gun with a full tank? he'd stop hiding and come out to fight against Sadako.
つまりレナさんがここを目指しながら逃げてその銃を拾うことは最初から読んでいましたってことですのよ。
Let Sadako talk crap, Rena. You don't have to listen to her, just shoot her right now. Rena thought the same thing. She shot at Sadako without any hesitation. But she frowned in confusion a moment after. What was going on? She couldn't shoot? Was her water gun broken? Or did somebody break it?
水鉄砲なんてちょっと砂粒を入れて空打ちすればすぐに詰まっちゃうんですのよ。私が切り札をここに一丁持ってることを先に読んで細工したってわけだね。私いつも言ってましたよ。トラップは最後の最後でほんの一つささやかに。これが究極の美徳でございましてよ。
When it comes to traps, Sadako remains a notch above Rena after all. I couldn't believe Sadako figured out Rena's plan in advance, and set a trap to counter it. Rena, he made a big mistake. You should have kept the old gun with you. You could have at least made that last shot. But it's too late now for you to pick it up again. Rena was in a worse situation than she was before. You couldn't even take another shot.
さて観念なさいませ。さっきレナさんは私の額を撃つとか言われましたわね。私が逆に額を撃って差し上げましてよ。
Sadako slowly narrowed her distance again and pointed the muzzle at Rena's forehead. Rena still didn't look like she'd given up. She still thought the game was undecided.
さとこちゃんもまだまだ甘いね。なんですって？トラップで相手を仕留めたならね、さとこちゃんが余裕を見せるのは勝者の権利だと思う。だけどね、今のさとこちゃんは私を絡め取っただけで仕留めたわけじゃない。余裕を見せるのはまだまだ早い段階だとは思わない？何を言い出すかと思えば、今から仕留めるから同じことですわ。私が逆の立場なら脳書きなんか言わずにさっさと撃つ。じゃないと負けるから。負ける？誰が？あら、その壊れた水鉄砲でどうやって戦うおつもりで？被弾の定義覚えてる？水鉄砲というこの容器から出た水が最初に触れたものが標的であった時、被弾とする。は？それが一体何だって言うんですの？
I heard her saying that I started running. My target was Rena. Sadako was already dead to me. Why? She's going to be shot by Rena within the second.
レナさんが何を言ってるのか私さっぱりでしたよ。その壊れた水鉄砲で何ができるおつもりだか。水鉄砲の中に水があれば戦えるんだよ。わかんないかな。
Rena raised her broken water gun up high and smashed its handle on the wall of the school building as hard as she could. Plastic bottle broke easily and water flowed out
水
of
鉄
it.
砲から出た水が当たればいいんだよ。水鉄砲のどこから出たかは問題にしてない。
Rena was right. She just saved herself by thinking it through. If she was using a real gun, bullets would only come out of one end of the gun. This was a water gun. She could make her bullets, water in this case, come out from any place, not just the barrel of her gun. Sadako finally realized that she was standing defenselessly in front of Rena. Sadako's trap was successful, but she overestimated its effect. She should have just shot Rena without hesitation before Rena noticed her new water gun was jammed. She was going to fail because she had grown overconfident of her victory. A second before Sadako pulled the trigger, Rena swung her water gun as if slashing Sadako with the sword. Sadako fired her bullets, but it was too late. A second before Rena would be shot down, a blade of water hit Sadako in the face. No, not hit, it cut her face open.
まだまだ爪が甘かったね。この私が
Rena ran towards Sadako, standing still in shock, and took her water gun. Rena knew I was her last target, and that I was running towards her.
Rena!
Rena, using her superior mobility, began to duck and weave. We were evenly matched. Neither of us neglected to make any possible effort to take advantage of the situation.
最後には一騎打ちになると思ってたよ。やっぱりこうでなくっちゃね。
見直したぜ。とんでもない根性を見せてくれるじゃないか。
見直したより惚れ直したの方が嬉しいかな。
負けてくれたらそれでもいいぜ。
ごめんだね。
We circled around the construction equipment, trying to take shots at each other. We were both sweating like crazy, but I didn't feel tired. Big drops of sweat tickled as they ran down my body. Rapid bursts of water flew across both of our paths. Neither of us had the advantage or disadvantage. I didn't feel elated that I might win or frustrated that I might lose. I was just enjoying this battle with Rena. It was like a dance that I couldn't dance alone. A dance that I could only dance with an opponent.
本気のレナはやっぱり冴えるね。見てるだけで震えがくるよ。
そのレナさんと互角に渡り合うなんてケイチさんもやりますわね。どちらが勝つか全然予想がつきませんです。
In fact, none of the observers could tell who was going to win. Neither could we. We had no idea who was going to win. We had no idea when this battle would end. I didn't know why, but it was great fun just to fight against Rena, and I didn't even care whether I won or lost. In fact, I never even wanted it to end. As we fired at each other, both our tanks emptied, shortening our range. Inevitably, it became more like a melee than a gun battle. We fired our water guns as if trying to cut each other with blades of water, swinging the gun like a sword. We both came up with the idea to swing the gun hard to generate centrifugal force in order to increase the range of our attacks. I dived to duck her shot. I rolled on the ground and landed on my feet. I ducked her shot again and swung my gun like a sword. Who could have imagined that our club's water gun battle would turn into one-on-one close combat like this? Absolutely nobody.
ああ、やっぱりレナもそう思うか。
じゃあケイチ君もそう思うんだ。
Both breathing hard, calculating the timing needed to take a closer step. And then we both grinned wickedly at each
やり合う
other.
のが楽しくてならねえぜ。決着がつくことすら興ざめす。
負けても恨まないでね。
ああ、恨まない。この勝負を終わらせた自分の不甲斐なさを恨んでやるぜ。だがそいつを恨むのはどうやらレナの方になりそうだな。
どうかな。ケイチ君、足が藁だよ。
くそったれー。
すごい。なんだかものすごくかっこいい。前原さん頑張れ。龍河さんしっかり。
I became relaxed enough to enjoy the battle, and finally realized that many of our classmates were watching our one-on-one fight. I barely had any water left. I'd have to make the next shot count or I was done for. It seemed like Rena was in the same situation too.
泣いても笑っても次で終わりだな。水が有限なのが惜しいぜ。
限りがあるから美しい。花も一緒だよ。
なるほどな。そういう見方もあるか。
本当に楽しかった。でもこれで終わりだね。
だな。無粋かもしれんが勝って決着させてもらうぜ。
上等だよケイチ君。
負けて泣くなよ。 乗ったー。うわ
どっちが勝ったんですの？
As the cicada echoed in the quiet schoolyard, it sounded like the hand of a watch ticking away the seconds. Neither one of us moved. We took our final shots, now stood motionless, like one of those duels in Western movies.
どっちが先に？わかんない。全然見えなかった。
Our classmates broke the silence first. They finally realized that our intensely beautiful one-on-one battle was over.
委員長、判定は？
Mion in turn realized that she had to deliver a verdict to end the game. But she was just as stunned as the others, and it took her a moment to recover. Mion was taking time to render her verdict. In fact, Rena and I didn't know who won either. My last shot flew fast and splashed sideways, as if a blade had cut her chest. I knew that for sure, but at the same moment, Rena shot me in the shoulder. Whoever shot the other first wins. We didn't know if it was me or her. That's why we stood motionless, waiting for the verdict to be delivered.
リカには見えまして？僕にだってわかるわけないのです。
委員長、どっちの勝ちなの？
Everybody held their breath, waiting for Mion to call it. Ren and I kept staring at each other. Spectators were the only ones who were interested in who the winner was. To us, it wasn't that important. We had a great battle. We both really wanted to do better than the other. We both wanted to call it a tie. This great battle, settling for a tie would be the best and most proper option. In other words, this one-on-one fight wasn't a battle to decide the winner. It seemed like everyone is thinking the same way.
みー？判定が出ないと二人とも動けませんです。
あ、うん。
Mion hates to settle for a tie because she loves to draw a line between superiors and inferiors. She tends to settle for a tie when deciding who the loser is because it's more fun to have as many people as possible suffer the punishment. But she's never settled for a tie between winners before. Mion holds a special feeling towards the meaning of being number one. Everybody continued holding their breath awaiting her verdict. Please make it a tie. Everybody wished for that in their hearts. Mion was hesitating to make the decision. We could have chosen a winner more easily if one of us did even a little better than the other. Even if one of us did a little better than the other, I feel like nothing fits better than settling for a tie.
今日の二人は見事だったよ。
Mion finally started
ケイちゃんもレ
speaking.
ナもここしばらくの連敗に発奮し、最高の力を発揮してくれた。その瞬発力は評価の高低の段階を超えて、もはや美しいと呼べるまでに昇華されてたよ。私は二人の最高の戦いぶりに評価を惜しめない。
じゃあ決着はどうなるんですの？
快速の精神から1位を2人に認定するのは好ましくない。でも2人にはわずかの優劣もなく、どちらを膠着させるかの判断もとてもつかない。よって本日の戦いを預かり勝負とし、後日改めて決着をつけることといたしたい。
I expected she might settle for a tie, but I never thought she'd make us have another battle.
灰原さん、すごかったですよ。かっこよすぎます。竜宮さんにもしびれました。なんかこう、まあ見てるこっちまで熱くなるというか。
Classmates rushed towards us and praised us for showing them something that cool. Ren and I were finally released from the tension of battle and dropped to our knees.
残念。決着をつけ損なったね。
まあな、次の機会を楽しみにしようぜ。
肩を貸してほしいな。
先に言うな。俺が借りようと思ったのに。
We both smiled at each other. The first time we ever hit it off like this.
それはそうと。
うまいことやったよな。
うまいことって何がですの？みーちゃん、うまいこと言って今日の罰ゲームうやむやにする気だ。
ぎく。
かっこつけときながら保身第一ってあたりがミオンっぽい。逃げたぞ。図星かよ。わかりやすいやつだな。
The bell rang, a sign that class was over, while we all laughed at Mion. After that,
二人ともお疲れ様なのです。タオルをどうぞなのです。
Rika-chan held out a towel, a big smile on her face. However, Ren and I stepped back and pointed our water guns at her.
もうみんなにいっぱいいっぱい撃たれましたのです。もう撃たれてると言っても誰も信じてくれないのですよ。
Rika-chan was soaking wet. Well, nobody believed her. She could be that sneaky, pretending she was hit in order to stay in the game.
普段が普段でございますものね。信じろというのが難しい相談でございましてよ。みんながいじめるのです。僕はもう一人ぼっちなのです。段ボール箱の中でミーミー泣いて、誰も拾ってくれないかわいそうな猫さんなのですよ。ミー。
Boom, the sound came from Rena's head. I saw a circle of smoke coming out of it. Rena must have pictured Rika-chan meowing like a cat in a cardboard box.
リカちゃん捨ててあるよ、捨ててある。レナが拾うよ。お持ち帰り。
Rena, you're ruining how cool we looked earlier. Rena was back to her normal self and jumped on Rika-chan like a chameleon capturing its prey. Rika-chan struggles to get away.
皆さん、早く教室に戻りなさい。
Chie-sensei clapped her hands and yelled at us from the window of the teacher's
行こう
office.
ぜみんな。
Everyone exchanged smiles and ran back to the classroom. That was chapter 1. We have one tip from that, called Pleasant Weather. One reason I like my house is because it has good ventilation. As long as there's nice breeze, I don't have to rely on a fan to keep me cool. I can take my futon from the windowsill, place my cushion near the open window, and enjoy the cool breeze of the evening. According to my page day calendar, it's June 1983 today. While it was still June, it seemed like summer skipped the rainy season and was already coming around the corner. This is very abnormal, apparently. Even if it was abnormal weather that only comes around once 100 years, if it was supposed to come around in June 1983, then it wasn't so much of a big deal. It was inevitable. On the other hand, the sudden evening shower on the way home from school was more unpredictable than anything else. Every day had been in perfect harmony, as if it was all carefully planned. I felt like something good was going to happen this year. How should I put it? Like the feeling I get when I roll a 6 on the first throw of a board game and start off with a huge lead. When it comes to a die, the more you roll it, the more the total averages out. We actually roll a die many times every day of our lives. It's not like one stroke of luck is really a big deal to be overly happy with. I roll a 6 on my first throw and a 1 on the second throw. The total is 7. If you believe in fate, you might say there's a higher possibility of a 1 to come up on the die. But you can never actually tell what number you will roll. That's what fate is all about. You might roll a 6 again. The chance of rolling a 6 twice in a row is 1 out of 36. If If we look at each throw one by one, there's only a 1 in 6 chance of that miracle. The glass chime Sadako put up yesterday was making a refreshing sound. Alright, so we'll save and start the next chapter. I woke from my dream, still feeling excited. I must have had a very happy dream. I already forgot what it was about. It felt as if there was a switch that automatically made me forget my dreams when I opened my eyes. All I could remember is that it was a happy dream. I looked at the ceiling and enjoyed the happy feeling for a while. It was Sunday today. Outside the window I could hear the morning bird song that sounded totally different from what I heard on weekdays. The morning bird song on weekdays sounds like they're in a rush, if they're telling me to hurry to school. On Sunday, it's different. I could tell that the birds are singing simply because they want to tell everybody how great a morning it is. I even felt like the birds that sing on weekdays must be different birds from the ones that sing on Sunday. I wonder if there really are birds that only sing on Sunday. Sounds like a very luxurious job for some reason. It's a waste to listen to such a valuable bird song when you're not quite awake. As I fully awaken, my normal, crude personality takes over. I start feeling stupid, to even think that there might be birds that only sing on Sunday. As I yawned and stretched, my blood started circulating throughout my entire body, and it felt good. I turned over and looked at the clock, which says it's past 10 a.m. I used to go to my cram school on Sunday at 10 a.m. That was before I moved to Hinamizawa. My parents made me go to 7 cram schools back then. I remember that one of them I had to go to on the first and third Sundays of the month was the hardest one of all, because I had to change trains several times before I got there. I was never allowed to sleep in so late back then. My mom always woke me up early so that I didn't miss my classes. Probably why I've always dreamed of being able to wake up whenever I wanted on a Sunday. Needless to say, I don't feel that way anymore now that I moved to Hinamizawa. After all, I can always sleep till noon on Sunday now. My life has changed completely since I moved here. Before, I used to think that living in the countryside would be really inconvenient. To be honest, I wasn't even interested in living here. It was only the first few days that I felt that way. Now I don't feel attached to life in the city or its conveniences. When I think about what part of my life in Hinamizawa I'm attached to most, I'd have to say, it's probably my friends. I guess the reason why I'm being so sentimental is probably because I had so much fun yesterday in the water gun fight with all my classmates. Despite my age, I got so into it and had so much fun. I bet the kids in the city wouldn't be able to play like that. No, I should say they wouldn't even want to in the first place. They wouldn't even realize how exciting a simple water gun fight could be. I went downstairs and saw my parents watching a serious TV program, arguing about the topic together.
だいたい日本の電話料金は高すぎるんだ。国が電話事業を独占してるからこういうことになるんだ。
でも民間企業ってのは営利団体なのよ。慈善団体なわけじゃないんだし、全国一律のサービスを本当に維持できるわけ？
The experts on TV were arguing about the same thing. It seems like there's a possibility the telephone service will get privatized. I'm too young to understand how privatization could make things better, but I can easily assume that people will start talking about privatizing the postal services in the near future, too. My parents were arguing about the topic fiercely. They got along very well. Let's put it this way. They get along very well, and that's why they argue. I don't remember seeing them get along this well when we were living in the city. This is probably one of the things that's gotten better since we moved to Hinamizawa. A cold relationship between parents doesn't bring any benefits to their kids.
あらケイチ、日曜にしては早いわね。朝ごはん食べる？
今日はいらない。あと今日は外で食べるから昼飯も。
なんだ、友達と一緒か。圭一がよく話す部活というやつか？
いや、 今日は部活じゃない。昨日の罰ゲームというか、なんというか。
Someone rang the doorbell. I look at the clock and notice it's time to meet Rena. I guess I spent too much time enjoying waking up late. I ran upstairs to get a change of clothes. I quickly changed and ran to the front door. Rena was chatting with my parents. I always feel uncomfortable when my parents talk to my friends. I'm afraid they'll say something embarrassing about me. They told Rena that I wet the bed till I was X years old or something. We wouldn't wait until Monday to tell everybody in my school, or maybe even everybody in
よう
Hinamizawa.
レナ、おはよう。待たせて悪い悪い。
ケイチくん
Rena and my parents looked at me and laughed. Said good morning, and they laughed. I guess I was too late. My parents must have already told Rena some embarrassing secrets about me. I don't want my parents to tell her anything else, so I put my shoes on in a rush and pushed Rena out of the house. My parents waved at us,
いっ
smiling.
てらっしゃい。レナちゃん、ケイチをよろしくお願いね。
はいおばさまケイチくんはレナがちゃんと面倒を見ますから。
何の面倒だか知らんが、見んでいい見んで。
I dragged Rena away from the house and we were on our way. We rode our bicycles to the town of Okonomiya. It's a long way away. It's an easy ride to town because it's mostly downhill, but needless to say it's a hard ride on the way back. I felt like Rena was giggling whenever she looked at me. I badly wanted to know what kind of embarrassing information my parents had fed her before I came downstairs. I tried to give her a new subject to talk about in order to get whatever she'd heard from my parents out of her mind.
レナって何気にうちの親と仲いいよな。
仲いいよ。よくお話しするもん。
よくお話っていつしてるよ。俺は見かけたことないぞ。
おばさまとはよくお買い物の時に会うかな。特売日とかポイントセールの日なんかはよく会うね。
ああ、確かにおふくろは特売日とかまめにチェックしてるな。冷蔵庫のとこに磁石でいろいろとメモが貼ってあってさ、どこそこで何がいつ安いなんてのが書いてあるのを見かけるよ。
それでね、今夜は何にしましょうねって話をしながら一緒に買い物するの。カレールーが特売だから今夜はカレーにしようかななんて話になると、じゃあうちもなんて感じで。
そういえば一昨日はカレーだったな。じゃあレナのとこもカレーだったわけか？
そうなんだ。おとといはポークカレーだったでしょ。豚肉が安かったから一緒に買ったの。だからね、私の家でもカレーを食べながら、今頃ケイチくんも同じカレーを食べてるんだろうなって思った。
She knows what I'm eating for dinner almost every day. Didn't bother me, but I did feel kind of
おじ
embarrassed.
さまとはお買い物の時に一緒に会うことが多いかな。ケイチくんのおじさまとおばさま、本当に仲良しなんだね。
そういえばよく一緒に買い物に行くな。確かにいい年して仲はいい方だと思う。
やっぱり両親の仲がいいのはとても大事なことだと思うよ。お買い物にも一緒だなんて、なんだか素敵で羨ましいな。
なんだかさっきから俺の親の話ばかりで恥ずかしい。レナのとこはどうだよ。仲いいか？
仲いいよ。いつもべったりしてる。だからね、レナに居場所がない。
Your parents are a lovey-dovey couple, huh? I've never met Rena's mother, but I imagine she's just like Rena. I could easily imagine her mother going crazy about the spot her husband missed while shaving, because it looks so cute to her, like sesame seeds on white rice. She must love to touch her husband's chubby stomach because it feels so soft. It was funny how easily I could imagine her mother doing those things.
突然笑い出すなんて、何かな、この。
レナの家のおばさんがどんな人かものすごい気になるぞ。俺も今度レナのおばさんに会ってみることにするぜ。
ダメだ よ、ダメダメ。
レナだって俺のおふくろと話をしてるじゃないかよ。ならおあいこだろ。
はあ、だって圭一くんなんかがあってもいいことないよ。全然立派な人じゃないし。
会う前からかなり予想はついてるんだけどね。ズバリレナにそっくりだろ。
そんなことない。全然似てないよ。
その過剰な反応が雄弁に答えを物語ってるぞ。とにかくレナのおばさんに興味が出たぜ。今度ご挨拶に伺うからな。覚悟してやがれ。
はあ、そんなのダメダメダメ。圭一くんがレナの家に来たらレナ怒るよ。すごい怒る。
普段お宅のお嬢さんに大変お世話になっております。いや、お嬢さんと真剣なお付き合いをさせてもらってるものです。くらいの方が面白いかもしれないな。
はあ、もしうちに来たらみーちゃんたちに圭一くんのちっちゃい頃の話をしちゃおうかな。
ちっちゃい頃とは具体的にはいくつの頃のエピソードだ？
レナがおばさまに聞いたのは4つの時の話と6つの時の滑り台の話と、あと
すみませんでした、レナさん。レナさんの目の黒いうちは竜宮家の半径100メートルには絶対近寄らないようにするっす。
ありがとう。
Damn it, Mom, I'll remember this. We arrived at the station. The place we were going to today is right near there. It's a restaurant called Angelmore. We were meeting up there with others. I was surprised when I saw the restaurant. It's usually a normal and quiet restaurant, but today there were many people in front of it. It didn't look like they were waiting in line to get inside. It looked more like they were just loitering around. You should line up and go inside like normal people.
なんだよこれ。すっげえ人だな。
今日はイベントデーだからね。この日のためにすっごい遠くから来てる人たちも大勢いるんだって。
There's a flag saying Dessert Festa in front of the restaurant. I heard that Angelmore holds events like this several times a year, and a lot of people come to attend from all over.
今日のデザートフェスタはね、抽選に当たってチケットがもらえた人しか入店できないの。でね、1枚のチケットで4人まで入場できることになっててね。
なるほどな。チケット持ってる友人が来るのをこうして店の前で待ってるわけか。
ちょっと違うかな。チケットの人にはね、たまに4人未満で来る人もいるの。
つまりなんだ？落選者たちがチケット当選者のおこぼれに預かろうとこうして群がってるってわけなのか。
At that time, the crowd of people roared in excitement. What was going on?
こいつチケット持っているでござるよ。チケットは4人まで入れるのに1人で入ろうなんておこがましいにゃりん。残り3人の枠にぜひ加えてくださいにゃ。
僕を仲間に加えてくれたらエンジェルモートトレカのレアカードを申請するよ。
おいらならフロントフィールドの夏コミ新刊を限定本付きで。
日暮らしベータ版着せ替えモード搭載版で譲って
G 氏の魔改造フィギュアでなんとか。
俺はこのお米券でどうだ。この愚か者。
よくわからん騒ぎになっとるぞ。
このお店のコアなファンはちょっと怖いからね。
ところで俺たちのチケットってのはどうなってるんだ？第一、俺たちメンバーって5人組だろ？チケットの定員じゃ。
ほら、このお店みーちゃんの親類のお店だからね。
ミオンって時々すげえよな。
Rena makes a fist and gets all fired up.
じゃあ行こう。一気に駆け抜けるからね。
それが最良の策みたいだな。よし、
We nodded at each other. Since we were a group of 2 people at present, it looked like we had 2 more seats to share. People might try mobbing us in order to get a share. We crouched down, getting ready to run. A crowd of people seemed to notice us.
あの二人強行突破を試みるつもりにゃりん。しかも女子と二人きりでボックスシートを埋めようとは不届き千万。一緒に座ってラブラブな空気を打ち砕いてやるでござる。
最後の一発まで抵抗しろ。ゲルマンの鉄の意志を見せてやるのだ。
Damn, they were gonna tackle us. They'd do whatever it took to stop us from getting inside the restaurant.
今日はみーちゃんたちみんなの罰ゲームの日。私たちがお店に入れなかったら昨日の勝利が無意味になっちゃう。
それだけは認められねえな。俺たちがベストを尽くして得た勝利だ。だからミオンたちの罰ゲームを見届けるのは権利であり、
義務でもあるもんね。
とかっこよく決めたところで下心丸出しなんだけどな。
はう、さとこちゃんやりかちゃんどんな格好かな。お持ち帰り。
ヤングカップルめー。おとなしくチケットを差し出すでござるよ。ここは通さねえぜ。
エンジェルモートのイベントチケットを2人だけで消化しようなどとは許せんにゃりん。余った枠に我らを加えるでござるよ。
They reached their hands towards us like zombies. They gradually got closer and closer. We were actually taking it easy, though. In fact, I'd say the situation was rather enjoyable.
なんだか昨日の部活がまだ続いてるみたいだね。
ああ、なんだか面白くなってきたぜ。連中を蹴散らして一気に行くぜ。
うん、了解。みーちゃんやさとこちゃんを相手に回すよりは簡単かな
だな。他の部活メンバーを敵に回すのに比べたら、見たとこ2、30人ってとこか。悪いが俺たちを止めるには人数がちょいと足りないぜ。
よーし、じゃあ行くよ。
おう。
Our enemies number about 20 to 30. If they wanted to stop us, they should have gotten 10 times more people than that.
「いらっしゃいませ。エンジェルモートへようこそ。本日はイベントデーになりますが、チケットはお持ちですか？
チケットはないですけど、名乗ればいいと言われてます。竜宮レナと前原圭一です。
ただいまリストを確認しております。少々お待ちください。
Seems like many fans of this restaurant aren't normal people. But they try to get in with lies or fake tickets. No wonder this waitress makes sure to check the list.
いやしかし恐ろしい連中だった。あんなのがひしめいていたら健全な客は店内までたどり着けないぞ。
そうかもだね。でもレナの行く手を阻むことは誰にもできないんだよ。は
それはそうと相変わらずのキレだったな。あれは肘か膝か。顔面の急所を正確にぶち抜くとは恐ろしいやつ。
The way Rena swept them off their feet with super fast invisible jabs was incredible. Even gave me a chill just thinking about it.
だってレナのお持ち帰りを邪魔するんだもん。きっとみんなかいいよ。みんなお持ち帰り。
怪異モードのレナが相手じゃな。まあ連中もあれだけ派手にぶちのめされれば敗北を受け入れられるだろう。
圭一くんだってすごかったよ。大勢に囲まれて飲み込まれたと思ったら急にシーンとなって、その後みんな涙を流しながら道を開けてた。なんでかな。
いや別に落選したお前たちの代わりにこの俺が入店してやる。お前たち だから同志諸君、今は涙を流しても次の抽選の勝者になれと、まあそのあたりのことを少々語ったらみんな理解してくれたようで。
圭一くんってアジテーション得意だよね。聞いている人を共感させる能力というか、我が部の口先の魔術師って感じ。
その口先の魔術師ってもう他の通り名はないのかよ。
どうだろうね。考えてみるね。
大変お待たせしました。リストにお名前を確認しました。お席へご案内します。どうぞこちらへ。
Waitress led us to our seats. The restaurant was completely packed today. It made for a cheerful but sort of crazy atmosphere. All the customers in the restaurant were very unique people, just like the ones loitering around outside. There was an aura of excitement in the store, and also smelled a bit sweaty. They were also talking excitedly, using special terms that I don't understand, again, just like the people outside.
やはりエンジェルモートは制服命だすね。
食は舌で味わうものでござるが、エンジェルモートは目で味わうのでござるよ。今日は大運のウェイトレスさんはいないでござるか。むほほほほほほ。女の子のローテのチェックは基本ですよ。ツンデレ好きなら火木の17時以降は絶対抑えたいですね。逆属性の方は金曜17時以降が勝負。
It's not creepy. I regret coming here today. At the same time, I was really glad that I didn't lose the game yesterday. This punishment might be a bit easier for the girls, but as a guy, if I had to undergo this punishment today, I'd been kicked and punched by these crazy customers because they would have been burning with anger. Let me explain. I didn't come here to eat lunch with Rena today. The punishment is as follows. The losers have to wear a costume that was randomly chosen and help with the event at Angelmort as a waitress. The winners can enjoy eating desserts, receiving service from the losers. When this punishment was announced, I actually prepared myself for the punishment because I thought I'd lose the game like always. I was losing a lot recently, so I didn't think I could win. I assume Rena felt the same way. Who could imagine Ren and I would do so well as to win? You're great, Keiichi Maibara. You made me proud. Everybody started shouting, clapping their hands, and whistling for joy. I don't blame them. They came here just for the event at Angelmore. None of them expect to see the waitresses wearing different costumes like this.
Me. Rika-chan! お持ち帰り！
まあ待て、落ち着けレナ。ここでお持ち帰ったら罰ゲームにならん。
Rika-chan appears with glasses of water and wet napkins on a tray. They drew lots to decide on the costumes. Rika-chan's costume is the uniform of Angelmort, which she uses regularly for punishments. Rika-chan put the glasses of water and the wet napkins in front of Rena and me. Rena raised her weird voice, and everybody in the store followed suit. Everybody started shouting the phrase, but before I knew it, they were crowding our table trying to burn the scene of Rena-chan serving customers into their mind. Okay, how bad was the original? Yep, that's pretty bad.
Me, チロチロ見られると恥ずかしいのです。
そういえばおなじみのエンジェルモート制服だが、どことなく違う気がするのは気のせいか？
それはですね、前原さん、僕が説明いたします。
Mita-kun, our underclassman, pushed his way through the crowd.
ああ、富田くんじゃないか。なんだ、岡村くんも。二人とも当選してたのか。
そんなことはどうでもいいんです、前原さん。それよりもここでフルデさんの衣装について説明しましょう。ご存知の通り、エンジェルモートの制服は成熟した女性の魅力を前面に押し出すことを最大の目的とした衣装です。よって着衣には多少の成熟した年齢相応のプロポーションが必要とされます。その意味においては、未発達な体型であるフルデさんとは最も相性の悪い制服と言えるでしょう。
それだけでなく、問題となったのはフルデさんの体型に合うサイズを店舗側が用意できなかったことにあります。そのためフルデさんはエンジェルモートの制服を着るという罰ゲームを実行するためには工夫をせざるを得なかったのです。そこでフルデさんはプール用の水着で衣装を代用したのですが、それによりカミオも予見できなかったであろう水着とエンジェルモート衣装というありえない組み合わせが生まれたのです。この武装により現在のフルデさんの攻撃力は従来火力をはるかに凌駕。属性付与、状態異常の追加、クリティカル発生率の大幅アップ。しかも上昇中には無敵時間まで与えられるに至ったのです。この素晴らしさがわかりますか？わかりますよね。つまりこれを竜宮さん風に言うとこうです。お持ち帰り。
ダメだよ、ダメダメ。お持ち帰るのはレナなんだよ。でも気持ちはわかるよ。お持ち帰り。
Midakun and Okumura-kun held Rena's shoulders. They shouted the phrase in their excitement. The phrase had spread through the entire store and was now out of control. Anyway, Tomita-kun and Okumura-kun surprised me sometimes. Their age, they're so good at giving passionate speeches. They'll probably make it big in the future.
みーちゃんとさとこちゃんは二人も楽しみ。
At that time, the crowd sent up another roar. I hear Mion telling them to let her through. I don't remember what kind of costume she picked. I don't think we... Okay, yeah, this guy wasn't in the original. I don't remember this guy at all.
亀田くんかよ。そっか、デザートマジの君がデザートフェスタにいないわけないよな。いや、元気？
元気かどうかなんてどうでもいいっす。それよりあれはどうなってるんすか。
Midakun was in a state of great excitement. Thick veins were displaying on his forehead. The source of that excitement appears through the crowd.
こうなりゃやけだね。毎度どうも。ウルトラレアチーズケーキお待たせしました。
Mion appears with a cake on a tray. Oh, now I remember what she picked for her costume.
みーちゃんもかわいいよ。
ああ、もうとんでもない災難だよ。この格好はケイちゃんにやらせるつもりだったのにな。
前原さん、この格好も並々ならぬものがあります。しかも普段の部活では上昇無敗、完璧鉄壁猛満隊の委員長の普段の姿を知れば知るほどに8割深さ 500% だと思います。しかし天下無敵の委員長ですら逃れることがかなわないとは、恐るべきは部活です。
そういうことっすか。ケイ二人で同じ器の巨大パフェを付き合った仲じゃないっすか。それなのに俺に内緒でそんな素敵な部活をしてたなんて納得いかないっす。こんな部活の存在知ってたら野球なんかやらなかったのに。俺の人生のリセットボタンはどこ？
なんという部活でござるか。
こ
こんな夢のような部活は聞いたことないにゃりん。
みんなダメだよ。部活はひなみざわに住んでる人しか入れないんだよ。
なんと。
これは住民票をひなみざわに移すっきゃな。
Up there, Rena. The population of Hinamizawa might double by tomorrow.
しかし素晴らしい罰ゲームっすよ、K。
Okay, let's see. Gosh, that was awful.
女性を美しくする衣装は例えるならデザートのデコレーションと同じダンス。ショートケーキだって全て剥いてしまえば単なるスポンジケーキに過ぎないんです。それをクリームで飾り、十重旗への美しい装飾が奏でる素晴らしき魅惑のハーモニーは目で楽しみ、舌で味わい、しかるにこのセーラー服とブルマの組み合わせは素晴らしい。本来ならどちらも日常的な学校衣装であり、それはそれで味わいがあるのですが、それはそれで置いといて、制服と体操服という近いカテゴリーにありながら交わることのなかったこれら衣装、そうデザートに例えるならまさにいちご大福。誰もが絶対に合わないと思った組み合わせが誰もがの未体験の未知なる味わいを持たせるに至ったのです。
ケイちゃんってケイって呼ばれてるの？この暴走特急と仲良かったんだ。
全力で無関係を装わせてください。なんだ？
The guy tumbled in and landed on his feet elegantly. It was Coach.
許しません。許しませんよ、前原さん。
Coach glared at me in anger. He was breathing hard with a scary expression on his
許
face.
さないって何が許さないんですか？
あれですよ。
Did we do? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just a background. Moment of his scream, 3 different metal buckets fell on his head one after another. And a Chinese walk finished the job.
まあこの格好が罰ゲームになった時点で多少は心の準備がありましたのよ。さとこのメイドさんはある意味命に関わりますです。はう、さとこちゃんのメイドさんかわいいよ。お持ち帰り。
それはさせません。お持ち帰るのはこの私、入江京介です。
ダメだよ、ダメダメダメ。レナのお持ち帰りを邪魔するとハウハウハウハウ。
Once Rena goes into cute mode, she becomes merciless. If a rock tried to sabotage her chance to take her favorite tome with her, she'd break it into pieces. If it was a river, she'd fill it up with sand. If it was the sea, she'd split it in half like Moses did and walk through it. But Coach got up on his feet like a zombie. I couldn't believe he could still get up after being hit by all of her super fast attacks.
無駄ですよ。聞きません。ほら、無駄無駄無駄です。入江は何度でもよみがえる。メイドがそこにいれば何度でもよみがえる。それが人類の夢だからだ。ギャングイブビオ。
それでもダメ。レナがお持ち帰り。はう。
Yurie was down on the floor, his body twitching. Rena just hit him with a barrage at point-blank range.
しかし圧巻な光景だな。
Okay, who is the worst original? Probably Mion.
勝ってよかったと同時に、負けてたらその一角に俺がいたかもしれないことを思うととても笑えん。
まったく悔しいですわね。いくら罰ゲームも部活の務めとはいえ、こんな格好はあんまりでございましてよ。
チェ、おじさんの格好に比べたらさとこの格好なんてまともな方じゃない。
メイドの格好がまともに見える時点でみんなただれてると思いますです。
ほらほらレナ、いつまでもハウハウしてないで席に座れ。負けた連中にサービスしてもらうのが勝者の特権なんだからよ。
はう、今日は誰を持ち帰ろうかな。はうは
そらウェイトレスさん、今日のおすすめは何かな。
こちらのフルーツパフェはいかがでしょうか。
ただいまシュークリームのセットがお安くなってましてよ。お水ならいくらおかわりしても OK なのです。
Rena's nose was bleeding because she got to keep the waitresses in cute costumes all to herself. I actually thank her for acting crazy like that because it made me look calmer than I really am. I was as excited as her and my nose would bleed too if I wasn't careful. I now understand what a slack-jawed smile means.
ねえねえ、リカちゃんウェイトレスさん、あーんやって。あーんですよ。
さとこ、俺にも一つ頼むよ。ミオンには肩でも揉んでもらおっかな。
もう悔しいですわね。ほら、あんなさいませ。
チェ、肩もみか。おじさんの肩もみは高くつくからね。
The audience gasped at the sight, but Angel Mort has never had an event as exciting as this one. Every table had 4 people squeezed in together, but only Ren and myself were at this table, and 3 waitresses in cute costumes were exclusively serving us. They were giving us shoulder massages and feeding us desserts, too. This had never happened before at Angel Mort, and never will again.
そうでござったか。この人たちはウェイトレスさんでござったか。では拙者もお冷やを一つお願いしたいでござるよ。
One of the other customers wanted to get a piece of the wonderful treatment and patted me on the shoulder.
悪いけどおじさんウェイトレスじゃないのよ。お冷やはあっちにいる本物のウェイトレスにお願いしてくれる？
なんとウェイトレスさんではないのでござるか。お申しはしてもらえんのでござるか。
別に私たち店員さんじゃございませんもの。あなたたちにサービスする言われなどありませんでしたよ。僕もサトコもミーも勝者の2人の慰み者なのですよ。ミー。
納得できん。
All of a sudden, Kamita-kun screamed, starting to blame me.
納得できんって。
K さんばっかりこんな美味しい部活ができてずるすぎるっさ
いや、それは俺たちも相応のリスクを払って得た権利だからな。ずるいと言われても。
僕たちもずるいと思います。
Kamita-kun and Okumura-kun were standing behind Kamita-kun.
大体前原さんが昨日ので優勝できたのは僕たちが委員長を背後からやっつけたからですよ。前原さんが負けたら罰ゲームがかわいそうだなと思って、僕たちにもちょっとは感謝してほしいです。
なんだか面白い展開になってきたね。どうするケイちゃん。
どうするも何も俺にどうしろと。
よしよし、亀田君に富田、岡村、そこまで言うなら今日の勝者の権利をかけてケイちゃんとレナに勝負を挑んでみたら。
みーちゃん、それってどういう意味かな。この
部活メンバーの他の精鋭たちを圧倒的大差で破ったお二人だもんね。こんなメンバーですらない連中なんか束でかかってきても負ける気しないでしょ。
Kamita-kun clapped his hands with glee. Kamita-kun and Okumura-kun nodded in agreement. They looked fired up already. Damn, I have to fight against them here?
そういえばケイチさんとレナさんの勝負は預かり勝負でございましたものね。少し外野が混じるとはいえ、ここで優勝決勝戦をされるのも面白いですものね。もちろんここで負ければ僕たちと一緒に罰ゲームに加わってもらうことになるのです。
くっそー、なんかうまいことやられてる気分だが、レナはどうする？
レナは負けないよ。だってみんなレナがお持ち帰りするもん。ケイチくんはどんな罰ゲーム服かな。みんなお持ち帰り。
He sure is motivated. I can see Kamita-kun was ready to fight for the ticket to paradise at Angelmore. My two underclassmen were also eager to have a chance to fight against the members of the club for the first time.
その勝負、この入江京介も混ぜていただきますよと。
うんうん。よっしゃ、このメンツで決定しよう。ケイちゃんもレナも依存はないね。
ちぇ、依存も何も勝手に話をまとめやがって。
まあまあ面白くなった方がいいでしょ。
富田さんも岡村さんもやめておくなら今のうちでしたよ。分かってると思いますけど、負けたら大変なことになりますのよ。
それは覚悟のうちです。
僕たちも男なんです。いつかは戦いたかったんです。
They've seen the many horrifying punishments we'd have to suffer, and still they had the courage to join in. I had to admit they have potential. Kamita, the evil lord of Angelmore, sneered at the two.
まさか K さんと再び戦えるとは思わなかったっすよ。今回は正々堂々正面からぶつからせていただきますよ。
よりによってエンジェルモートで亀田君と戦うことになるとはな。ある意味野球で戦うより手強い気がするぜ。
Coach Irie, the Count of Maids, laughed like he was afraid of nothing.
ここは大人の本気というものを見せてあげましょう。そして今日ここに入江京介のためだけのハーレムを実現させるのです。
You're creepy. Go home, man.
みんな勝たせてあげないよ。はう。
よし、俺も覚悟を決めたぜ。いつまでもぼやいていても仕方ねえや。見よ、勝負は何でやる。
そう来なくっちゃね。みんな道を開けて。ウェイトレスの皆さん運んじゃってください。
In the kitchen, the real waitresses are standing by with many desserts on trays. Looks like the game was either going to be a speed eating or a competitive eating contest.
店長、本当にいいんですか？
ああ、いいから運んじゃって。面白いことは何でも大歓迎だよ。せっかくのイベントでだしね、盛り上がらないと。
Waitresses checked with their manager and started bringing in the desserts. Two of my underclassmen, Kamita-kun, Coach Rena, and I sat at a table together. A horrific amount of desserts was brought before us. I wanted to enjoy watching the cute waitresses placing desserts on the table, but right now I was in a fighting mood. I had no time for that. The audience surrounding our table seemed to have grown excited too. I bet it didn't even cross their minds that they would see a serious battle at Angelmore today. They didn't care, as long as it's fun to watch.
さーて、いいかい諸君。制限時間内にどれだけのデザートが食べられるかの勝負だよ。あらかじめ各メニューごとに重さは出してあるからね。食べ終わった後に食べた総重量で勝負をつけよう。
When the words competitive eating came up, Kamita-kun smiled evilly. Damn it, Kamita-kun had the advantage.
僕たちはコンビですので、 2人で1人の扱いにしてください。
ああいいよ。いつもコンビだからね。特別に許可しよう。
Yeah, but having two stomachs for a competitive eating contest was an absolute advantage too.
レナはどうだ？やっぱり女の子には胃袋勝負はきついんじゃないか？
そんなことないよ。かいいみんなをお持ち帰りできるならテーブルごとだって飲み込んじゃうよ。
I underestimated her. Rena can overcome physical impossibilities when she goes into cute mode. She might even be able to eat food that's heavier than herself.
監督はどうですか？大食いは。
前原さん、そこにメイドがいて、それを手に入れるための条件が大食いなら、私に不可能の文字はありません。
See a black aura surrounding him, which I found very intimidating. The glint from the eyes that shone from behind his lenses was sharp enough to pierce an iron board. Yeah, but he was in maid mode, which is equally as strong as Rena's cute mode. Shit, I was the only one without any advantages.
じゃあ準備はいいかな。レディーゴー。
I wasn't ready emotionally, but Mion started the game without hesitation. Damn it, there was no turning back. I had to do this. There were many kinds of desserts before us. Some were easy to eat and some were not. I had to get the dessert that's easiest to eat before anyone else got to it. What about the yogurt parfait? Of course, everyone seemed to be thinking the same thing. Everybody reached out for the same dessert as fast as they could. The white light flashed in front of our eyes and the parfait disappeared. My hands clashed with the others in midair.
みんな遅いよ。レナがお持ち帰っちゃった。はう。
Rena took the parfait. She was literally as fast as lightning. Damn it, I knew it. There was no way I could beat Rena in the opening move. Rena took the parfait like a frog catching a fly with its tongue and swallowed it in a single gulp. She did all that in seconds. She's usually gentle and calm, but she's a totally different person right now. Really, it's terrifying. I see. I now understand why people say women always have room for dessert. But in the special environment of Angel Mord, Kamita-kun wasn't far behind Rena. He grabbed a fruit parfait and swallowed it as if drinking beer from a mug. Looked very dynamic.
無駄ですよ、ケイさん。エンジェルモートでの戦いで俺に勝てる可能性は 1% もないっす。まだまだ行くっすよ。
Kamita-kun and Okumura-kun took the extraordinary techniques Rena and Kamita-kun are displaying. Look at the extraordinary techniques, but they seemed to be very calm. They knew their advantage. As long as they kept a steady pace, they could eat more and eat faster than anybody else because there are two of them. Rena and Kamita-kun were eating very fast, but they might slow down in the middle, so this was going to be an unpredictable race. Son of a bitch, I won't lose this game. I shoved my dessert into my mouth and kept eating. Keep eating. Just kept eating. Damn it, my mouth got extremely cold when I swallowed a ball of ice cream. How could the others do this so easily, Here's an idea. I should melt it first. I could use some kind of heat to melt it first and then drink it down. Plus it would also be easier for my stomach to take when it's not so cold. How should I melt it? It would take too long to use body heat and I didn't have any other source of heat with me.
すみません、ウェイトレスさん。注文をいいでしょうか。ホットコーヒーをお願いします。できれば器は鍋だと助かります。
監督。
甘いですよ、前原さん。熱で溶かすなんてて、私だって思いついていました。
Oh, damn it, he was one step ahead of me. I could order hot coffee too, but I'd still be one step behind him. I have to come up with something to melt my ice cream faster than hot coffee.
クールになれ、前原圭一。考えるんだ。考えろ。
Gosh. Keiichi-kun held his head, screamed that line, and bent his neck backwards. When he gets like this, he always speaks everything that's on his mind. It's very fun to listen to. But I had to concentrate. I needed to win this game. I was going to keep eating as much as I can and take all of the adorable girls home with me. can't tell, we've, for whatever reason, switched to Rena, who needs pink text for some reason. I was having so much fun. I was so thrilled that I felt like my heart was about to burst. I might have been acting totally uncute, but I didn't care, exactly, because I was having so much fun. Mi-chan always comes up with such extraordinary games. Sadako-chan loves to play pranks. Rika-chan is very sneaky, but it's impossible to hate her. And Keiichi-kun is always so funny. I enjoy every day. I wish I could express how much I really do enjoy them better than by saying how happy I am. Sometimes I even feel anxious because I enjoy every day so much. There is as much misfortune and pain as there's happiness and pleasure in this world. I know very well that they all come to you regardless of how hard you try. You'll have happy days regardless of how hard you try. You'll have unhappy days regardless of how hard you try. That doesn't mean you don't need to try hard. I can try to make my happy days even happier and last longer. In the same way, I can try to make my unhappy days happier and end faster. I struggle very hard to achieve that. That's why I'm going to enjoy the happy days I have now as much as I can. I must not take them for granted because they won't last forever. They won't. One day all of a sudden these happy days will come to an end, and I know it. That's why I was trying to enjoy the happiness I received today so that I wouldn't regret it, even if the world ended tomorrow. I noticed my hands stopped moving while I was thinking about these things. When spending time with my friends, I felt so happy that my heart might burst. I even love doing the punishments. They're fun for me. I have friends. I have a place where I fit in. I have time in which to be myself. I have a me that I love. I love everybody. I love Mi-chan, Sadako-chan, Rika-chan, Keiichi-kun. I love everybody in my class and everybody in Okonomiya.
レナの手が止まったね。さすがにあのペースじゃ長続きしないかな。
チャンスだよ岡村。今こそ竜宮山を抜かすんだ。
無駄。エンジェルボートでこの俺に勝とうという時点で蜂蜜杏仁豆腐よりやばいぜ。
レナさんしっかりしてくださいまし。監督を勝たせたら承知しませんですことよ。
私は負けませんよ。飲めと言われれば太平洋だ。
どうしたレナ。見てろ、ここからいよいよ圭一様の逆転劇の始まりだぜ。なあみんな。
レナ、どうしましたですか？
I'd left the table.
ごめん。ちょっと手洗い行ってくるね。
I was just so happy I didn't care who won or lost this match. Of course, it's more fun when I go crazy and try to win. I could never be happier than this. If I could seal this happiness in a piece of crystal, I'd carry it around with me in my pocket. I'd use it as heat to ward off the cold of hard days that are certain to come to me. I know they will. You're not truly happy when you feel happiness. When you're bored with happy days, don't even realize that you're happy. That's when you've achieved true happiness. You only feel happiness when you're in a freezing cold environment. It's the only time your heart can feel the warmth of even a small happiness. On my way to the bathroom, I saw a waitress and a customer arguing at the register. The customer was a woman. The waitress was trying to explain that the lady needed a ticket to get a seat because the restaurant was holding an event today. The lady, saying she didn't know, was still trying to get a seat. After a while, the store manager was called and started apologizing to the lady.
まったく。チケットないなら入れないって表の見えるところにちゃんと張り紙しといてよ。たく客を何だと思ってんの？
The lady's eyes met mine. I guessed who it might be when I heard the voice, so I was prepared.
あら、レイナちゃんじゃない？こんなとこで会うなんて奇遇よね。
あ、どうもこんにちは。こんなとこで会うなんて本当に奇遇ですよね。
I held out my hand for a high five. He gave me one. Wait, did she? Oh no, she lost the tattoo in the console version, and then they brought it back.
聞いてよレイナちゃん。ひどいのよ。今日はチケットがないと入れないとか言うのよ。
そうみたいですね。
まあ仕方ないわね。ねえ、お店には入れなくてもお土産にケーキくらいは売ってくれるんでしょ？
ええ、それは問題ございません。さあさあ、どうぞこちらからどれでもお選びください。
The store manager gave her a fake smile and led her to their showcase.
私はこの可愛らしいのにしようかしらね。あの人はショートケーキみたいな地味なのが好きだったっけ？ねえレイナちゃん、あなたはどれがいい？
私ですか？いいのいいの？は
本当にこういうのに目がないわね。どれでも好きなの選んでいいわよ。
じゃあ私もショートケーキでいいです。
あら、他にもこんなに可愛らしいケーキがたくさんあるのに。
なんだかとっても迷っちゃうけど、こういう時はショートケーキが一番美味しそうに見えるんです。
そう。じゃあショートケーキを2つとプチトリアノンを1つ。お持ち帰りでね。
She imitated the smile I usually made. I replied with the same big smile. Then I smelled the strong scent of her perfume and it made me sneeze.
あら、風邪
Renaissance perfume and I never seem to get along. That was chapter 2. Got one more tip called business card. Rena, height 168 centimeters. What? Bust 89, waist 60, hips 87. Hobbies: I'm interested in indoor gardening. I want to make tea with the herbs I grow. I always enjoy your funny and interesting stories. We should go out somewhere next time in private. Gentlemen's Club, Blue Mermaid, private manager, Rena Mamiya. Well, that was short, sweet, and to the point. Alright. Probably squeeze one more chapter in.
.少なくとも3日くらいの間は甘いものを見たくないぜ。
ケイチくん頑張りすぎだったもんね。
Rena ate a massive amount of desserts too, but her stomach seemed to be just fine.
女の子には胃袋が4つくらいあるんじゃないか。デザート用に確実に1つは余計にあるに違いない。
まあ、レディーになんたる暴言ですの。そんなこと言う圭一さんにはこうでございますことよ。
Sadako had poked me very hard in my bloated stomach.
やめて。お腹は押さないで。中身がはみ出る。
Sadako and Rika-chan grinned mischievously upon hearing that. A chill ran up my spine. Why were they smiling like that and walking towards me so gleefully?
やめろお前ら。血とか涙とかはねえのかよ。
千載一遇のチャンスを見逃す私と思いまして。圭一の膨らんだポンポンが大変なのですよ。圭一くんのぽよんぽよんのポンポンかいいよ。
やめろお前ら。
Rena joined Sadako and Rika-chan in torturing me. They were still making a lot of noise outside the restaurant. I desperately blocked my stomach from their attacks, but someone else hit me from behind.
の愉快な仲間の皆さん、こんにちはです。
お、しーちゃんだ。こんにちは。あれれ、今日はお店にいなかったよね。
私、今日は夜のシフトなんです。さっき来て着替えたばかりですよ。
それはそうと、お前よくその格好で店の外に出られるな。
大したことないですよ。あられもない姿で村中を練り歩いた誰かさんよりは恥ずかしくないです。
Yeah, but I was just getting over it. She just reminded me that I'll never be able to get married.
それはそうと、今日は皆さんだいぶ大暴れしたらしいですね。
まあね、いつもの部活になっちゃった以上ね。
店内とんでもないことになってましたからね。お姉も責任を感じたようで、みんなに混じって掃除をやってます。
やっぱり私たちも掃除に加わった方が良かったんじゃありませんの？
ああ、それはお気遣い無用です。さすがにお客様に掃除はさせられませんから。
そもそも一番散らかしたのはミー本人だと思いますです。
Yeah, that's right. Everybody nodded in agreement.
それでお姉から伝言です。皆さんは先に帰っててくれていいそうです。いい
よ、待ってるよ。ねえみんな。
Rena asked for our agreement. Of course, we decided to wait without hesitation. Sadaka, Rika-chan, and I all nodded
手伝え
along.
ないならせめて終わるのを待ってるよ。帰っていいからって言って先に帰るとあいつ寂しがると思うからな。
ほう、ケイちゃんも日進月歩、少しは成長するんですね。
まあね、レナたちがちゃんと教育してるからね。ねえ。ですわよ、ミパー。
なんだよ、こういう時だけ女どもは結束しやがって。
I hate girls. They get along so easily just because they're girls. The end. Yes.
What are you saying about girls?
I am reading the text. See? In the end, we ended up making a lot more noise and even dragging Shion into the mess this time.
シオン、あんたいつまでサボってんの？雑巾どこやったの？ありゃいけね。じゃあ私はもう戻りますね。
みーちゃん、お掃除まだまだかかりそう？
何みんな。おじさんを待っててくれてるわけ？
余計な気使わなくていいって。まったくもう。
Mion looked happy to see us waiting for her, but she always says the opposite of what she thinks. Wonder when she'll grow up and just be able to honestly say thank you.
バカ、仲間だろ？終わるまで待っててやるよ。
レナたちも一緒にお手伝いできればいいのにね。ごめんね。
だからいいって。今日ね、シオンの仕事終わるの待ってから久しぶりに沖宮の家に帰ることにしたの。だから本当に大丈夫。気持ちだけでも感謝するよ。
あら、本当にいいんですの？なんだか悪いですわね。なんか悪い気がするかな。
人は大勢いるから大丈夫だよ。風が冷たくなる前にみんなHinamizawaに戻りな。
わかりましたのです。みー、お掃除、ファイト、おーです。
お、ありがとね。じゃあケイちゃん、お嬢様方のエスコートをよろしく。途中で死角に襲われないようにしっかり護衛するんだよ。
Looking around, I didn't see any ladies who need an escort. Felt more like I was the one who needed protection. Anyway, we said our goodbyes, making it easier for us to end the day and go home.
じゃあね、みーちゃん。また明日ね。
また明日ね。
よっしゃ。 行こうか。
We waved at Mion until she went back inside the restaurant, and after that we all got on our bicycles and left Okonomiya. On the way home, we talked about how exciting it had been today. It looked like everyone was still fired up. We had the horrifying punishment, the competitive eating contests, which turned into an unprecedented battle involving all the customers in the restaurant. And after that, everything got crazy and messy. At first, the waitresses didn't know what to do, but after a while, they ended up joining in, and we had a blast.
でしたのよね。その時の富田さんと岡村さんたらもうおかしくてたまりませんでしたわ。結局亀田も入江もかわいそうだったのです。
いやいや、しかし俺の演説もなかなかだったろ。あの時は店全体が俺の味方だったよな。
圭一は生まれる時代と国が違ったらひょっとするととんでもない人になってたかもなのです。こんな口先男がですの？どこの国に生まれてもろくな人間にはならないと思いますでございますわね。あと100年も早く生まれていたらお札になっていたかもですよ。圭一さんのお札なんてなんだか貧しいですわね。きっと200円札とか300円札とかそのぐらいの数でしたよ。
Sadako and Rika-chan kept up their continuous chatter. I was a bit tired after the day's event, so I just listened quietly. I noticed the wind was getting colder. Her shadows were getting longer as well. Sadako and Rika-chan still had a lot of energy left, but what about Rena? She'd been very quiet. Maybe she also had a stomachache from eating too much. I looked at Rena to see. However, I was wrong. Rena didn't really know how to describe it. She looked very satisfied. It looked like she really did have that much fun. She looked like she was as happy as she could ever be. I could tell all that without her saying a word. When I looked at her, it made me realize that the word fun wasn't enough to describe what we did today.
今日一日本当に楽しかったな。
圭一君は？
俺も最高に楽しかったよ。今日みたいなことが明日や明後日もあればいいのになってくらいにさ。
それはレナも同じかな。今日のお店の中での時間だけが永遠だったらいいなって思った。
おお、詩的なことを言うな。
圭一君は思わなかった？
Rena didn't notice that I made fun of her. I might have been a little tactless. Suddenly I regretted having said it.
俺も同感だよ。
でもね、圭一君、別に今日だけが最高に幸せってわけじゃないんだよ。
Cool wind blew through her hair. She smiled at me, and for some reason she looked very mature. Her appearance made my heart skip a beat.
私たちのひなみざわでの日々はどの一日だってかけがえのない大切で素敵な幸せな一日なんだよ。たとえ部活がお流れになっちゃって退屈な
Have a good night,
一日だったと
Samus.
して
Take care.
もね。
レナは大人な考え方ができるんだな。
そんなことないよ。本当はまだまだはしゃぎ足りない。興奮がまだ冷めないだけなのかもね。
Rena laughed, and that made me laugh too. Sadako thought we were laughing because we said bad things about her, and she started bugging me about it. Once again, we made a lot of noise like we always do.
では、僕とさとこはここでお別れなのです。リカ、もう少しご一緒してタバコ屋さんで曲がってもいいではありませんの？豆電球が切れたのを忘れましたですか？豆電球がないと寝るときに真っ暗になってしまいますですよ。それは困りますわね。あ、牧野さんの雑貨屋さん？ならここでお別れだね。これ以上行っちゃうとどんどん遠回りになっちゃうからね。
Makino-san's general store? Alright, that's where it is. I want to make a stop at the store before going to the shrine. Turning here would be the quickest way.
そっか。じゃあな、リカちゃんにサトコ。また明日な。
また明日なのです。それではですわ。ケイチさんにレナさん。じゃあね、二人とも。バイバイ。
Rika-chan and Sadako waved at us many times, then took the narrow path through the field. Once the noisy girls were gone, it went especially quiet all of a sudden. It even made me feel as if the sun had set in an instant. I could see my house by now, which everybody called the Maibara Mansion. I didn't notice it earlier because of how fired up we all were, but my stomach was about to burst. Growling in my gut felt like thunder. My body must have been paying the price for me acting like an idiot earlier. There's no way I was eating dinner that night. I needed to tell my mom before she started cooking. Or anything, I had to get to the bathroom. So, my stomach was churning. Oh boy, it really didn't sound good. I got to the place where I'd met Rena in the morning and say goodbye in the evening.
今日はすっげえ楽しかったな。
すっごい楽しかった。あれ、ケイチくん具合悪いの？
すまん、お腹を壊したかもしれない。おとなしく休むことにするよ。
ケイチくんもまだまだお腹の鍛え方が足りないかな。
レナだって俺と同じくらい食べてるはずなんだぞ。一体その細っこい体のどこにあれが収まるってんだ？
それはその女の子の秘密ってことで。
Rena giggled and tried to avoid giving me an answer. She'd probably hit me if I pressed her about it. If he punched me in the stomach, I'd throw up for sure, so I decided not to go any further.
レナ、また明日な。
また明日ね。
俺さ、前は都会に住んでたわけだけどさ、こんなにも一日一日を楽しいと思って過ごしたことはなかった。俺、ひなみ沢に引っ越してきてさ、きっと幸せなんだって思う。
レナも同じだよ。ほら、私も1年前にひなみ沢に引っ越してきたわけだけど、こんなに楽しい幸せな日々を送れるのが信じられないもの。
そっか。なら明日も絶対に楽しいな。
そうだよ。昨日も今日も楽しかったんだもん。きっと明日だって楽しいよ。
こんなにも毎日が楽しいと、なんだかある日突然転びそうで怖いよな。
転ぶときはどんなに注意してても転ぶよ。だからいつ転んでもいいように思いっきり今を楽しむのが正解だと思うな。
そうだな。今を精一杯楽しむのが正解だな。
じゃあね、ケイチくん。おばさまとおじさまにもよろしくね。さて、レナはまだまだ遊び足りないから、また宝の山に宝探しに行こうかな。
まだ遊び足りないってのか？つくづくタフなやつだな。負けたぜ。
どう？よかったらケイチくんも一緒に来ない？新しい山があってね、まだ全然発掘してないの。何かとっても可愛いのが見つかるかも。
悪いけど俺はパスするよ。それになんだか雲が重たくなってきたみたいだしな。レナも今日はおとなしく帰宅した方がいいんじゃないか？
こういう素敵な気分の日にはね、きっと可愛いのが見つかるんだよ。だからちょっとでも行ってみるね。
I felt sick enough that I didn't feel like going with her. If I felt better, I would have gone treasure hunting with her for sure. She didn't want to go home yet because she didn't want the fun day to end. It's exactly how I felt too.
じゃあな、可愛いのがあったらぜひ見せてくれよな。
じゃあね、バイバイ。
And now we switch back to Rena. Keiichi-kun waved over and over as if he didn't want to say goodbye yet. But after a while, he was gone. Well, I had to go too because I was going to go treasure hunting. I love cute things. I had such a wonderful day today that I'm sure I'm going to get lucky at treasure hunting. I definitely will find some wonderful treasures. I pedaled my bicycle with determination. My house was nearby, but I took another street that led to the dam construction site. It might have been okay to go home just then, but I hesitated to go since I didn't want to be seen. I had so much fun today, and I wanted to continue feeling happy as long as I could. It's already getting late, but I felt like it was getting dark faster than usual. It's like Keiichi-kun said, the clouds in the sky were growing darker. It might start raining hard.
だからって家に帰れるわけじゃないんだし。
Stop it, Rena. You had so much fun today. You have to stay happy as long as you can. I'm happy. I enjoy every day. Rena, say it. Say the magical words. Don't be embarrassed. You're not dumb or anything. I might be able to enjoy every day even more if I were dumb. If so, dumb is what I'd want to be.
かいのあるかなお持ち帰り
There, I said it. I'm sure I can find something cute. As long as I believe it's cute, anything can be that way. I should fill my heart with happy memories of today and yesterday. I look forward to the happiness I'm going to receive tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, too. I reached the dam construction site. A mountain of trash loomed before me. I parked my bicycle and walked down the mountain of trash and scrap. This place is my castle. It would be incredible if anyone else came to this mountain of trash. I've come here many times, and I usually stay for a long while, but I've never seen anybody walk by. This place is the village's blind spot. I heard that many people came here all the time during the dam wars, but it was abandoned after that. Villagers no longer need to come here, and some people even forgot about it entirely. Seems like they dump trash here at midnight, but I've never seen a truck actually dumping trash at least. They dump new trash more often, and give me more time to kill. It looks like it's not going to happen for a while. I walked down the slope of the trash pile, all the way to the bottom, and headed behind another pile. Nobody ever comes here. I've come here many times, and I usually stay for a long while, but nobody has ever come to mess up this place. Not even the other kids from my school come here. They all believe that the arm of the manager of the construction site is buried somewhere in the trash piles. They also believe the whole place is haunted. They told me a ghost with one arm still wanders around here looking for his missing limb. Sadly, I haven't seen the ghost either. I'm not scared. In fact, I'd rather like to meet him. I wouldn't mind helping him find his arm. He's feeling lonely. I want him to be my conversation partner. There's a station wagon buried in the trash pile. It doesn't have tires, but other than that, it still looks like a station wagon. The station wagon is my secret hideout. Unfortunately, the sliding door and rear doors don't open. So whenever I want to get in, I have to enter the car from the passenger seat and crawl into the back from there. Of course, I take off my shoes at the passenger seat. When you look at it from the outside, it's just a dirty, abandoned car. And on the inside, it's nice and clean because I swept it out and decorated a little. That took me a long time. The back seats are lying flat because I want to have as much space as possible. I found a mattress in the trash pile and put it into that space instead. It was a bit dirty, so I brought a bedsheet from home and covered the mattress with it. I put my favorite cushions on top, and with that, it turned into a perfect bed. I put cushions and stuffed animals everywhere. That's not all, look at this. I have a bunch of sweets here too. I have a bag of fruit candy in 4 different colors, and some cookies, but they're going bad, I'll have to throw them away. My bear-shaped water bottle was empty. When I come here to spend some time on Sundays, I usually bring this water bottle with some sweetened tea in it. I have a box of tissues, a flashlight, extra batteries, and other daily necessities in here. I also have a few books to read in order to kill some time while I'm at it. And I have this. What do you think this is? Look, ta-da! My hideout is suddenly lit up thanks to a table lamp. There's an electrical outlet on the side of an old nearby construction office. I thought they would have cut the power years ago, but to my surprise I was wrong. Our electricity is still being supplied to the outlet. When I found tons of extension cords, I came up with the idea to connect them all and make the electricity come all the way to my hideout. Now I can spend time here comfortably with some sweets, books, and lights. If I want to, I might be able to spend a night here. I may catch a cold since it gets very cold at night. See, this is a very nice hideout, isn't it? At first, I thought somebody would find it and mess with it, but that hasn't happened so far. Because nobody comes here, and everybody forgot about this place. That's how this place became my perfect secret hideout. Fortunately, I ate so much today that I'm still full. I can tell them that I was playing with my friend at her house and ate dinner there. I'm gonna stay here for a while and relax. I'm gonna treat myself. I loved the water gun battle yesterday. My heart had begun pounding when I fought one-on-one with Keiichi-kun. Also had great fun at Angel Mart today. I'd never experienced such a crazy game with so many people in my life. I was still feeling the after effects. I was sure to have a dream about it tonight. That was why I wanted to bask in these happy feelings. That was why I'm gonna treat myself in here. I should take off my shoes and stretch my toes. I should cherish the time when I can be myself. Once I took off my shoes, I felt so relaxed that I didn't want to put them on again. I played all day today and I was very tired. Treasure hunt could wait. As it got darker, the light of the table lamp became encouraging. It really was getting dark faster than usual. All of a sudden, I heard the sound of raindrops hitting the roof of the car. The interval between drops got shorter and shorter. It became a continuous sound. I began to hear thunder. Even though it was raining heavily, it remained very quiet inside the car, making me feel like I was in a different world. It's my castle, after all. I felt a bit cold, so I unfolded my big blanket and hid under it. I'm here alone under the warm blanket that has my scent. Even though nobody knew where I was at the moment, and I feel like I was left alone in the heavy rain, I still feel secure and free from anxiety for some reason. I felt like this heavy rain was keeping my enemies away from my castle, and I liked it that way. This place is full of small happiness. It's full of my favorite things. That's why I'm happy whenever I'm here. When I put another blanket over me, I felt as warm as if I were in bed. I listened to the soothing sounds of raindrops hitting the scrap iron in the trash heaps, and it made me feel sleepy. This is a castle of trash. Trash came here because nobody wanted it. This is where it lives. This is a country where unwanted refuse lives together. I felt like I fit in here. But at the same time, I knew it was just a temporary place for me, because there's somewhere I had to go back to. No, I shouldn't think about things like that. Whenever I realize that I don't belong here, I remember I'm in the middle of a very dirty pile of trash. I should just doze for a little bit longer. Thinking is poisonous. I wanted to keep myself out of that poison, so that the kind Rena within me could stay pure. A little bit longer. Just a little bit longer, and I closed my eyes. I like how the car has a full tank of gas sitting in the trash heap. My mother was a very busy woman. The harder she worked, the more her work was valued, and she kept getting promoted. She sought to go higher and higher. She was always shining, and she was my hero. My mother started her career as a fashion designer at a small clothing factory in Okonomiya. My father was a designer too. They met through their jobs and soon got married. They lived in a small apartment in Okonomiya, but they moved to my grandmother's house, our current house, in Hinamizawa when she got pregnant with me. We lived there until right before I went back to elementary school. Now that I think about it, that was the happiest time of my life. I felt happy every day and believed without a doubt that tomorrow would be the same. I was so happy that I took it for granted and didn't even feel the happiness. I really did feel happy every day. I was small at the time and didn't really understand what was going on. It seemed that the company my parents were working for was having financial difficulties. So my mother and a few other young designers started talking about leaving the company and going independent. After many things happened and the situation got complicated, they got an offer to work at a big design firm, Ibaraki, and they took the offer. That time, I heard my mother saying many difficult words like limited partnership and business alliance. In short, what she wanted to do was move to Ibaraki. My mother and her peers were hired because their talent and experience made them immediate assets at their new company. However, my father wasn't one of them. Unfortunately, my father wasn't as talented as my mother was, so moving to Ibaraki meant my father to give up being a fashion designer. My mother's new company had high expectations of her talent and promised her a responsible project. She didn't want to waste her growing talent and passion by living in a rural town like Hinamizawa, so my mother convinced my father to quit his job and move to Ibaraki to support her and help her build her career. Back then, moving meant I had to say goodbye to my close friends. I didn't want to move, and I kept crying about it. After we moved to Ibaraki, my mother was a big success. Not only did she have great leadership skills, she was full of energy, and I believe she made the best use of her talents to succeed. She came home late every night, and barely had any days off. When she had a big project, she often stayed entire nights at her office. When she came home, she always looked fulfilled and wore a happy smile that she'd never worn when she was in Hinamizawa. She was shining, and I remember I always wanted to shine like her when I grew up. On the other hand, my father wasn't doing so well. He couldn't find a job as a fashion designer, so he took a clerical job at a small company. He kept changing positions. He couldn't use the experience that he had cultivated, and it was very hard for him. But he was very understanding. He started to take care of things around the house for my mother, who got busier and busier, having one project after another. He cleaned the house, did the laundry, came to all my school events. However, he couldn't cook. He did cook rice, and always bought side dishes from a grocery store. We ate dinner without my mother more and more often. I guess she's busy again. Every time I said that, he always told me, "Your mother is working very hard, so let's support her, Reina." That was what he always told me. I decided to help my father with the cooking. Thought it was a good idea to learn how to cook since he wasn't good at it. Whenever my mother cooked, I helped her and tried to learn how to cook from her. She apologized for not having enough time to cook for us, but she was happy that I was learning. I think I wrote in my school yearbook that I wanted to be a clothing designer in the future, just like my mother. But apparently, I lacked my mother's exceptional sense of style. She used to tell me, taste is something that you're born with, not something that you cultivate. I remember I was discouraged to be a designer because of that. That's why I decided to reach her by getting better at things that she wasn't so good at, instead of trying to be like her. I wanted to be good not only at cooking, but also doing things around the house, such as cleaning, doing the laundry, grocery shopping. I remember my father was really happy that I did all that for him, because he wasn't good at it at all. He couldn't find a job and spent a lot of time at home, so he seemed to enjoy spending time doing the housework with his daughter more than anything. I started to become better and better at filling in for my mother. She started to get too busy to do any of the housework at all, moved on to a more responsible position at her job. She took me out to many places, as if to compensate for leaving me alone all the time. She used to say, "Let's go eat something delicious without telling your father," and took me out to a restaurant. She took me to high-class restaurants and amusement parks. Sometimes it was only me and my mother. Sometimes it was with her friends from work. She took me to a beach barbecue in summer with those friends. I was introduced as her daughter, and every one of them pampered me. I still remember there was this one guy who doted on me. He was a good-looking young man. I called him uncle once and he got mad at me. He was nicely tanned, with dyed brown hair. This young man often came with us when we went out. When my mother took me somewhere, she usually made several phone calls for her work during the day. And sometimes she took me out to a place where she could also do her work at the same time. I didn't feel awkward when people from her work came with us, but I always preferred to be alone with her, so I was happier when we could do that. One day, she took me to a very high-end part of town. Of course, she always spoiled me whenever we went out. She bought me things, let me eat whatever I wanted. And she especially spoiled me on that day. Took me to many expensive-looking boutiques and accessory stores. She was about to buy me something, but I told her not to get it because it didn't look good on me. Without hesitation, she bought it anyway. I remember there were many zeros on the price tag. On that wet day, I realized my mother's design work had made her a very successful woman, and she was earning a lot of money. We took a break at a ridiculously expensive-looking restaurant that probably charged 1,000 yen for a glass of orange juice. My mother clapped her hands and spoke to me with a smile on her face. She asked, "Reina, would you like to make your dream come true?" When I was in kindergarten, my teacher gave students a topic to draw a picture of. The topic was my dream, and I drew myself eating a mountain of fruit parfait all by myself. What my mother meant to say was that she was going to make that dream come true for me. It was a normal day. It wasn't my birthday or anything. But since my mother always spoiled me when we went out together, I didn't feel awkward about it at all, and I accepted her offer with a happy smile. There were 5 or 6 fruit parfaits in front of me. I remember it looked exactly like the world I drew. I felt like I was floating in that dream world. It was too much for us to finish, but we dug our spoons into it as if we were playing in the mud, and really enjoyed eating it together. It was my first time to experience getting full by eating only fruit parfaits, and I remember I was very happy. I enjoyed tasting the happiness and chatting with my mother.
この間、映画とお食事に行った時、一緒だった人のことを覚えてる？
秋人おじさんだっけ？はう、お兄さんって呼ばないとぶたれる。
レイナちゃんは秋人さんのこと好き？
嫌い。いつもレイナのことからかうもん。
それは大好きだからちょっかいを出してるのよ。バーベキューの時はとっても仲良くしてたじゃない。
たまには仲良しかな。かな？
My mother laughed. I didn't know why she brought up the subject, but I didn't really pay attention to it because I was too young. Now that I think about it, she was breaking the news. I just didn't notice it.
ねえ、レイナちゃんはお母さんとお父さんとどっちが好き？
お母さん。
It wasn't that I hated my father or anything. I thought giving her that answer was appropriate after she spoiled me so much.
お母さんとお父さんが別々のお家に住むことになったら、レイナはどっちのお家に住みたい？お母さんね、お父さんと別れて秋人おじさんと結婚しようと思うの。
At that time, my mother was a very successful woman. I didn't know this at the time. She was drafted by a headhunter to work at a bigger company, where she was promoted to a higher and more responsible position, one where she could bring out the most of her talents. Of course, the position was the only thing she gained. Compared to my father's low salary, my mother was earning enough money to support a family of 3 and still have some left over. I'd kind of realized it from the way she spent money. The greater a position she achieved, the more she spent time with people at her level. All of them were bright and talented. Compared to them, my father might have looked unattractive to her. I liked Uncle Akihito, but I liked him as one of my mother's friends, not in the same way I liked my father. I liked my father and mother equally, so it was very shocking to me that my mother wanted to divorce him. It felt as if the ground below me was beginning to crack. That expression, I realized, actually fit my situation very well. I had to choose which side of the cracked ground I wanted to stand on. My mother told me to live with her at her new house. Her new house meant the house Uncle Akihito lived in. I thought a house was a sanctuary for a family. I believed that a house was a holy place where strangers could easily enter. Couldn't easily enter. That was why I couldn't believe her. If she could let a stranger invade such a holy place so easily. Why do you hate my father? My mother looked down and didn't answer. I asked her another question. Why can't you stay with my father? I think that was the hardest and most heartbreaking of all my questions for my mother to answer. In short, my mother had cheated on him. She loved another man who was more attractive than my father. It was just that and nothing more. Any more than anybody else that it wasn't my father's fault. First of all, he decided to move from Hinamizawa to support my mother as much as he could. For him, nothing good had come from that. Actually, I think he'd had a very tough time since we moved to Ibaraki. but he volunteered to be her support and tried very hard to do that. I thought my mother appreciated his support. So, I took her decision as a betrayal. I told her that I disagreed with everything, including their divorce. I said it very loudly and made everybody in the store jump. Sure, continue your relationship with Uncle Akihito, but don't divorce my father. I feel bad for him. I feel terrible for him. He's been doing nothing but support you patiently this whole time. How could you do such a cruel thing to him? I screamed as loud as I could. Then my mother answered. It's too late. Why? You haven't talked with my father about this, have you? It's not too
お母
late.
さんね、妊娠してるの。
I don't know whether my mother actually told him about the divorce in person. A middle-aged woman who called herself a lawyer came to the house several times to talk to my father on my mother's behalf. She sometimes called him too. My father begged the lawyer to let him speak directly to my mother many times, but it never happened. I could tell by the way that they talked that he had no clue when my mother told him she wanted a divorce. Well, again, I'm not even sure if she told him in person. The lawyer told him not to meet my mother, not to call her at work, and many other things too. Top it all off, she told him not to see my mother ever again. He wanted to talk to her. He called some of their mutual friends, but he only found out the name of the guy she was having an affair with and nothing more. He asked me, "You know the guy?" I told him, "I do." I also told him that he was a funny guy and he'd given me candy many times. I'll never forget how he looked when I told him that. He hit me for the first time. He hit me so hard that his handprint stayed on my cheek for a while. Then he fell on the floor and cried loudly. And then I started to cry too. I didn't cry because he hit me. Uncle Akihiko was kind to me, so I liked him, and talked to him out of courtesy. No, that wasn't it. Girls had to be kind to everybody. That's what I thought. I was wrong. I learned in this world that there are people you should be nice to and enemies you shouldn't be nice to. Enemies are the ones who would destroy my life with their very existence. Whether they meant to harm me or not doesn't matter. They're like weeds growing in a flower bed. Dandelions are innocent, but they take all of the nutrients for the tulips from the soil. That's why they have to be pulled out. Dandelions did nothing wrong, but they're the enemy. Enemies are bad people, and that guy was a bad person. I shouldn't have accepted him. I should have rejected him with everything I had. By doing so, I might have been able to disrupt their relationship. By doing so, I might have been able to make my mother feel like their relationship was not going to work. If I tried to do so, my parents wouldn't have had to break up. My father and I cried together, but we cried for different reasons. He must have cried because it happened so fast and didn't make sense to him. I cried because I regretted that I let it happen when I had the chance to prevent it. My father stroked my cheek and opened his mouth to apologize, but he couldn't speak and just cried with me. One day, the lawyer let me see my mother. My mother asked me to live with her at her house again. I didn't know what to say, so I just kept looking down and listened to her apologies. My father knew that I was going to see my mother on that day, so he handed me a letter and told me to give it to her. I don't know what he wrote in that letter, but for some reason I was able to imagine what kind of things he wrote when I felt it through the envelope. After all, the letter inside the envelope had a rough surface. He must have been crying while writing the letter, and his tears made the letter all wrinkled when it dried. My mother took the letter from me and told me she'd read it later, and was about to put it in her bag. I stopped her and told her to read it there. I wanted to see if she was going to take the last words that my father had left to her. But my mother didn't read it. She told me she wanted to read it alone later, and she put it in her bag. At that time I realized, no, it was more than that, I should say. I knew, because it was so obvious. I knew that my mother was lying. She had no intention of reading my father's letter. She was going to throw it away when I was gone. She lied because she just wanted to seem like a nice person in front of me. The slight curl in her eyebrows and lips told me that more clearly than anything else. That moment, I finally knew something else. The guy she was having an affair with wasn't the only bad person. My mother was also a bad person. Since that moment, the existence of my mother disappeared from my world like dry ice evaporating. I didn't have to hesitate about whom to live with
あなたの
anymore.
家には行きません。私の家は竜宮の家です。もうあなたとも会いたくありません。二度と呼ばないでください。
でもね、レイナ、お父さんの方に残ったらこれからの生活。
At that moment, I hated my name for the first time in my life.
私のこと気安くレイナって呼ばないでください。失礼します。さようなら。
Those were my last words to my mother. No, to the woman who used to be my mother. After that, I spent many days without feeling anything. I don't know if the days were long or short. I didn't know what season I was living in. It was supposed to be nothing out of the ordinary, not having my mother around. Every time my father saw things that reminded him of her, toothbrush, her teacup, or her favorite books, he shed tears which left me frustrated. That's why I decided to completely remove her belongings from the house. I roughly threw her things into a black trash bag. I started to do so frantically. By the time I knocked down her wardrobe, threw her music box hard on the floor, and broke her mirror, my mind was already not working properly. When I tried to remember what happened after that, I feel disoriented. That's because the pills the doctor gave me back then made me feel disoriented and lethargic every time I took them. It seemed that dullness hit me especially hard. Since every time I try to remember that time, it makes me feel disoriented and lethargic, just like the pills made me feel. I destroyed everything that smelled like my mother, but the thing I wanted to destroy the most might have been myself. Even after I threw all of her belongings away, I still couldn't stop feeling regret, and I decided to blame myself in the end. Maybe I was thinking, I wanted to do damage to her reputation and successful life by destroying her daughter, destroying myself. I was about to reach that very last resolution. Oyashiro-sama came to me. Oyashiro-sama told me to go back to Hinamizawa. Yes, all of this was because of his curse. Oyashiro-sama brought a curse upon the Ryugu family because we broke his rule and abandoned Hinamizawa. After I figured that out, everything started to make sense to me. All the crazy things that happened after my mother was gone. The curse of Oyashiro-sama did all of that to us. It was Oyashiro-sama's voice that was telling us to come back to Hinamizawa. That's right. We should have stayed in Hinamizawa. Everything went crazy because we moved. We had to go back. I started feeling disoriented again, and a dull pain ran through my head. It might have been a scream from within telling me not to push myself too hard to remember any further. The house where we used to live in Hinamizawa was still there. My grandmother had already passed away, and the house was the only property she left for us. I remember that I used to live in Hinamizawa, but all I remembered was that it was a village that I used to live in right before I went to elementary school. I remembered the atmosphere of the village too, but that was all I remembered. About the streets and even the names of close friends I used to play with. Neighbors knew that the son of the deceased woman had come back divorced, but they didn't know us, and we didn't know them. It was almost like we moved to a new place. However, as far as I was concerned, it was still my hometown that I'd come back to. At first, everything was inconvenient compared to life in Ibaraki. It was hard for both of us to adjust. We renovated the old house. It was only me and my father. Life here seemed to make my father forget his pain from the divorce. Michan was very kind to me, and I started to get used to my new life, too. I did everything around the house, and gradually we went back to a time when we used to live happily. Anybody can live a happy life. Some people say that some people are born to be unhappy, but I believe that's just an excuse for people who don't even want to try. I won't give in to fate. I'll never give up trying to recapture the happy times that I lost. I'm going to become happy to the point where I don't even feel the happiness anymore. I'm not going to cry anymore. never cry again. I used up all my tears on that night that my father hit me. The curse of Oyashiro-sama is over because we came back to Hinamizawa. I'm gonna have a happy life from now on. All of a sudden, big raindrops hit on the roof of the car and I recovered my senses. It was still raining hard. It had already gotten dark outside. The shadows the table lamp created were very dark. It looked as if there was nothing else around me. I turned off this light. Did everything in this world disappear? I turned off the light, and darkness swallowed me. But the cold air and the sound of the rain didn't change a bit. That made me realize I was still in this world. The curse of Oyashiro-sama. The curse of Oyashiro-sama do those crazy things to my family? Or did I convince myself it did as an excuse for myself, because I didn't want to feel guilty about the divorce? Sometimes I'm not sure. Since that time, Oyashiro-sama hasn't come to me. Sometimes feel it was a delusion I created because I was mentally ill, but he did come at that time. I'm sure about that. Am I right, Oyashiro-sama? I was unhappy after I left Hinamizawa, but I came back and I'm happy now. But where am I supposed to go now that I'm unhappy in Hinamizawa? Where?
ダメだ、レナ。不幸になったとか考えちゃいけない。私は幸せなんだ。幸せになるんだ。だから絶対に幸せになれるんだ。
Suddenly, I felt that if this darkness swallowed me, I'd never be able to be happy again. I found the switch of the table lamp and turned it back on. I looked at the clock. It was already past 11 p.m. I had to go home. I wouldn't have time to prepare my lunch for tomorrow. At least, I have to set a timer on the rice cooker. It didn't look like the rain was going to stop any time soon. I looked out of the window to see the rain, but I could only see my reflection. I talked to that reflection in the window. I'm so glad that my father's happy. He'd been acting like he was dead for a long time. The smile on his face is a good sign that he's regaining his former happy life. He became miserable because of me. That's why I don't mind doing things for him until he regains his smile and we become truly happy. When I stay here for a while, it gives him some time to be alone with her. Plus, I don't have to fake a smile. But then, the reflection in the window tells me, Rena, you're such a good girl. You're kind to everybody and love them equally. You can make anybody like you. But did you forget something? In this world, there are people you should be kind to, and enemies that you have to reject with all you've got. I thought you learned that lesson. No, don't listen to her. My reflection is always mean. She always says mean things and makes fun of my worries. But she always tells me the things I can't say myself. Let's go home, Rena. To your home. Forget about the mean Rena in the mirror. I was a bit hungry by then. For all the desserts I ate, I still got hungry. I almost forgot. Rena-san bought me a shortcake. I've never had a shortcake from Angel Mort, but I bet it'll taste good. I have to give my thanks to Rena-san the next time I see her. Rena-san speaks in a way that makes it very clear how she grew up, but I'm sure she's a good person. It's because she's so good to my father. I did everything I could to make my father smile, but I failed. On the other hand, Rena-san could put a big smile on his face so easily. I have to thank Rena-san. I have to thank her for cheering up my father. But I don't know why. I just don't like her perfume. Alright, we've got two last tips. Oh, I did view all. So we've got... We'll start with my summer vacation picture diary. Today I went to a swimming pool with my mom. Uncle Akihiko came with us too. I don't like him because he's mean to me sometimes, but he's a very kind and very funny old man. He told me to call him Daddy for that day because he was going to play with me at the pool like he was my daddy. My mom called him Daddy, so I did too. Uncle Akihito looked very happy and gave me a lot of money. Mom looked very happy. It made me happy too. I wanted to play with him again. I hope my dad can come with us next time. And then we have Premonition of Rainy Days. I opened the window, placed my cushion nearby, and prepared to enjoy the weather. But she came over and disrupted my peaceful evening. She always ruins my time of
幸せ
solitude.
そうね。そっか。今日はあんたの大好きな甘いものがたくさん食べられたものね。
This girl loves sweets more than anything. I like them too, but I can't eat like she does. Give me heartburn if I ate the amount she ate today. She seemed to be very happy, so I'll leave her alone for a while. I've been making my favorite hot and salty food over the past few days, so she must be quite pleased today. It was a very fun day for me too. I just wanted to enjoy the memory of the excitement I felt today by sitting here quietly enjoying the sunset. When I looked up at the sky, I saw some thick clouds forming there. The wind was a bit cooler than usual. It might start raining
大
soon.
地震や大津波などの知らせとして浅瀬に普段は絶対に見かけることができない深海の魚が現れることがあるっていう話があるらしいわね。
We saw a very rare fish that dwells in deep water in the shallows today. Just as the ancient stories of sea monsters say, people hate deep sea animals and tend to interpret them as omens of a disaster. Didn't matter if they showed up alive or dead. I just said something interesting now. Even if it shows up alive or dead, it was an omen of a disaster. Oh, it might start raining soon.
言われなくても分かってる。洗濯物を取り入れるわよ。
I grabbed a basket and went outside to take the laundry in. Clouds were getting darker. I normally like the rain, but I didn't think I'd enjoy it today. I think that's where we'll stop for today.